That works out. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Ready when you are.
All right. Welcome to Shakeshero, the podcast that bridges the gap between you and all things Shakespeare. I'm Chloe Baldwin.
I'm Paul Stafford, and today we're going to be breaking down the 1999 film production of Titus Andronicus, starring Anthony Hopkins and with other notable names such as Jessica Lange, Jonathan Myers, Harry Lennox, Angus McFadden, Alan Cumming, and James Frain.
I can't even begin to say how much watching this movie meant to me.
Guys, Chloe had a full-on meltdown and cried during this movie because she was so happy that it was doing a good job.
Yeah, like literally. We were 2/3 of the way into the movie and I was like, there's no way that they can fuck it up at this point. Like, or at least not in a major enough way that it will detract from every amazing choice they just made. The performances were amazing, you guys. Everything was so clear and well told. Like, there were a couple times, actually there were a lot of times when I kind of turned to Paul and was like didn't say anything, but was kind of just like, does that make sense? And it clearly made sense. And just, I mean, even down to the fact that they used this medium of film to do certain things they wouldn't be able to do on stage. It was just incredible and so cathartic for me. I can't even begin to express how much it meant to me. It made me feel like the point of this podcast and the point of a lot of what I try to do when I make art was realized in this and inspired me and made me feel like what I'm doing is not in vain, or that there is this kind of diamond that I'm seeing in these texts that they really pulled out in this production. And it's not, it's not just, oh, I'm putting something on it, or, that these stories are just, interesting because they are Shakespeare. Like, no, these stories are important and complex and interesting, and they're in some ways all the more interesting because they still apply hundreds of years later. And I'm really excited to get into why and how they did that in a way that was so fucking effective.
Yeah, it was like this 1967 Taming of the Shrew, directed by Ringo Zaffarelli.
Mm-hmm.
It just melted away, and I was just watching a movie again. And it was just, every choice was just so beautiful. And one, I gotta bring it back to the fact that we were we didn't love the 2010 Tempest, also directed by Julie Taymor.
Yeah.
And we were like, what happened? Like, what? Because she, as we mentioned in that episode, directed
Lion King on Broadway.
Exactly. And Across the Universe, which is everyone's favorite movie ever. And if you haven't seen it, then you're committing a crime and you need to go see it right now. But when I was watching this, we're like halfway through. I was like, Julie, I'll never doubt you again.
Yes!
It was so wonderful.
We were saying we don't know what it was, if she got her budget for this one, if she ran out of time.
I now posit the new
Tempest.
theory that there is some external force that robbed her of the vision she wanted.
Yeah.
And there is no way
I'd say that too.
that was her final vision.
I want to be best friends with Julie Taymor now.
She's amazing.
I
Her watching
can't
behind the scenes of
even
Across the
believe it.
Universe and just being like awed at how somebody could craft this wonderful, like, surreal, which is definitely her style.
Yeah.
Like, the things that she does that are surreal, I love, because it's very a free playground for her to make the point she's trying to make without having to be, like, tethered to reality.
Right.
And this movie is very surreal in all the best ways.
Absolutely.
All of the best ways.
Yeah, I feel like watching this movie, it felt like someone was reading my mind in certain ways. And at the same time, it even went beyond that to them making choices that I never would have thought of. Or like, this was flowing through someone else's imagination, so I got to see new aspects of the story that I hadn't paid attention to before, or that were new and interesting to me. And oh my God, Paul, I feel like I had a kind of transcendent experience watching this movie. And that won't happen for everybody, because not everybody is like me and is like obsessed with Shakespeare, but I do feel like it's not just a good Shakespeare movie, and it's not just an amazing Shakespeare movie, and it's not even just the best Shakespeare movie I've ever seen. It's a fucking great movie.
That's what I was going to say. I'm a movie person, and I will speak for the layman that I may or may not represent, but like, someone who doesn't get it, so like you're a little too close to Shakespeare to really maybe evaluate, like, maybe I love it so much because I know the story. No. This is a fucking hands down all around great movie. Like, it's the knockout. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and it didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat for every scene, and I didn't have to try.
Yeah.
And so, for one, I want to take back what I said last episode about me trying to remember the names helping me understand the story. Names don't fucking matter at all.
No.
If you make a good movie, people will follow it.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and so I
as long as your
I
characters are
misattributed-
clear.
I misattributed that semantic aspect of it.
Man.
But because I was just trying really hard when we watched Midsummer Night's Dream, the 1993 version of it, directed by Michael Hoffman, and it was, I got it, but I had to try really hard to get it. And this is like the conceit of this podcast, where Shakespeare is accessible. Shakespeare has a story that can hit hard, but the production has to bridge that gap.
Yes.
And if it doesn't do it, the language will throw you.
And I think that's true
Not
of...
you, but
anybody.
me and a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I think pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that the only reason that I would sometimes get something is because I know the text or because I've seen another production of the play or been
You see
in
what
it
they
or
were trying to
something.
do.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the secret, is that, and that's the secret of this movie and why I think it's good, is just so many of the pillars and tenets of good storytelling, they just hit them in a really technically proficient way. And I think that that's the thing that sometimes people can get caught up and distracted from when they're doing Shakespeare, because they're either like, oh, it's fancy, so we got to rise up to it, or like, you know, get some idea in their head about like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, like it's the perfect love, or like, you know, or you know, people just have their ideas about the archetypes of these characters and don't always look at like, what is the story that's trying to be told? How can I tell it in the best possible way?
Yeah.
And that's what this movie did. It did it. It did it.
Okay, so this movie hit me super hard again, just in a total general good movie way. But what do you think the point this movie was trying to make? Because I think it was trying to make a super profound point that was hit from different angles throughout the entire movie, but it was a singular point.
I gotta be honest with you, Paul. I want to hear what you think first, because I've seen this. I mean, this is one of the first Shakespeare texts that I just straight up read. And it's also one that I've seen over and over again. So I'm curious what you saw just from seeing this movie as opposed to all the iterations I've seen.
Ooh, oh man. So I've been struggling to like try to congeal this point into like a few pieces and say it without stuttering too much, because it's something I've thought about since, you know, I was in high school, but it's also something that I'm sure a lot of us think about. It's just, I think it was shining a light on a very specific part of this.
Does it feel like something that's really complex and yet kind of simple?
Yeah, it's big. It's something we recognize, but we recognize it as this huge, big thing that it begs to be broken down into a bunch of smaller things.
Yeah.
And it's also something that I would argue, not even talking about the movie, just the fact that what the text is, like literally the text, that
yeah,
the part I'm arguing would be super fundamental on the level that, based on just the text alone, and what happens and who does what.
Yeah.
That this is the point that this play's trying to make.
Yeah.
Or to me, it's inescapable to me. So
yeah,
I'm making the argument. I'm not the arbiter of truth, but I'm making this argument.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I'm excited, and I think part of the reason I'm excited is because when I think of this play and when I think of Shakespeare in general, I always think of that it feels both really complex and really simple to me in the points that it's trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly a lot of the hallmarks of things that are like profound genius points.
Yeah.
Is that they're beautifully simple.
Yeah.
But it takes a long road to get to it.
Sure.
Or to like derive it, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, wait, tell me. I'm excited.
Okay. It's not a one sentence.
I know. I like get into it.
All right. So civilization and the rise of humanity as a dominant species on the planet arose from not only our intellect, but our ability to inhabit a shared imagination.
Yeah.
We all can imagine what laws are. We all can imagine what things are rules and what aren't. And that allows us greater levels of cooperation on a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then we built societies, and the fundamental aspect of how we cooperate, we've now created like that. That's our foundation, and we build other things on top of that.
Yeah.
So, but the reminder of this movie's trying to make is that that's all an illusion. There is a Venn diagram where we connect all humans that live in a developed society that has laws and rules that scale up to, you know, hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of people. We all have this in common where, you know, we have this in Venn diagram that our values and what we decide to do, the Venn diagram that we connect on is the laws and the rules that we all agree to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has a line where that is no longer valid and they're going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
Like somebody, a parent might decide to break the law in order to save their child. Or
Right.
like somebody might have a hot temper and decide that, although it's illegal to fight you, they're still going to fight you because they're
Right.
mad about this.
Right.
So everybody's line is different, but he's trying to say that it's very easy to forget that it's an illusion and think that this is real.
Yeah.
Think that this is a fundamental foundation of nature, but as opposed to a human construct.
Right.
And so one, he's saying that's the truth, and he's also saying that everyone's line is different, and not everybody understands where their own line is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you aren't confronted, you haven't thoroughly evaluated your own values to choose where your line is. So sometimes you're confronted with a circumstance that makes you make that choice, but you haven't, on a really fundamental level, made it for yourself. Like, have you decided what you would give up to save this person, or to kill this person, or to get this thing that you want? Have you decided when you would break these laws, or have you decided, or will it just come and hit you when you would just fall on your what you've been living on all your life? And that's what hits Titus, and Titus doesn't know where his line is.
Right.
And he has massive regret because of it.
Yeah.
So, and then everybody's, you know, so as it all changes and as it all falls apart, we see where everyone's line is. Everybody has a point in this movie where they say, fuck the laws, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Every single person has that line.
It's so true.
And some people's line is like, they always did what they want because they're feral beasts. And some people's line was they will stick to what their
what
the law
society
was,
tells
or
them.
what
Yeah.
their agreed upon like way of being was.
Yeah.
To their last breath.
Right.
But some people, this movie is just showing a bunch of different people with a bunch of different lines and showing them coming to that realization that it's an illusion and they all have to make the choice.
Yeah.
And I love how beautifully it took one circumstance and yet that brought out everyone's line.
Yeah. Everyone gets
beautiful.
pushed to the brink.
Exactly.
I don't know that everyone gets pushed to the brink, but everyone at least
All the main
goes over
characters,
that. Yeah. All of our heroes get pushed.
Even
to
the villains.
To
Everybody
the brink,
does.
past the brink, and what happens after that too.
And
I think we even experience the fallout of not only like, well, when do they go over that edge, but also like once they're over that edge, then what?
Yeah.
And I think that was played really beautifully in the direction and performances too. I think sometimes, like humor, for instance, was used in a really interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
That I always like when I'm thinking of a production of Titus, I'm like, if there's not humor in here, I'm not on board.
And it's like weird humor
dark.
too, and it's like some of it's kind of zany, but it all works. Like
Yeah.
Julie, God,
Julie, we love
threw
you.
a touchdown pass. It
Just wanna
was so
hug her.
wonderful.
Ugh.
Yeah, but yeah, I would argue that all of our main characters do have that moment.
Yeah.
And also, it's such another beautiful kind of like, I guess, funhouse mirror or just a mirror because of the fact that the illusion that I'm talking about has to do with government in general,
Yeah.
which is our shared illusion. And then the fact that two opposing governments are at the premise of this movie, and then all the characters swap sides.
Yeah.
All the main characters that are the royalty of one government become the royalty of the other government.
Right.
Which is like, I feel like just knocking that point over the head.
Yeah.
You know, wait, because I'm
Wait, I'm
talking
confused as to what you
about
mean.
talking about how the feral, I don't know, the Goths. The
Yes,
Goth becomes
yes.
now the queen of Rome,
Yeah.
and then Titus's son becomes the king of the Goths,
Right.
which is hilarious.
Yes.
And then now one's conquering the other, and then they flip sides, and the other conquers, and they're all.
It's ridiculous.
It's that all those things combined, just the logistics of what happens, makes me feel very confident in that argument.
Yeah.
I don't know, or at least. Even if that was not what Shakespeare intended, I feel like that's what this is saying, an independent of him. I don't know.
I think it's exactly what
to
it's saying.
Yeah.
I think that when I heard you say like this is what this play is about, and I'm excited to tell you what I think it's about, I thought that you were either going to go specifically for government or trauma. And I like that you went for something that encompasses both of those things. Like, because I think that, you know, the idea that government is an illusion is something that you touch on in that illusion kind of aspect of it. And trauma is also something that happens when we realize all of those things that we've been relying on, or that we thought were givens, or that, you know, we just believed in, really, and invested a lot of our energy, our lives, our work, our emotions in, and realizing all of that is an illusion is traumatic, especially when it takes away, you know, basically the people that you love.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that's what you took away from it. That's really cool.
That was wonderful. It's, after I said that, I mentioned the movie Gladiator to you.
Yeah.
With Russell Crowe.
And then we watched it.
And we didn't get through all of it yet, but like, I just wanted you to see the beginning, and like, it's like the same.
I got through all of
it.
It's really good.
Yeah. Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, you fell asleep.
I didn't realize I was sleeping for that long.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, he's with his family. That's cool.
Yeah. So
they're in a painting.
it's the same. It's basically the same premise, but I think it's like 10 Things I Hate About You as to Taming of the Shrew, Gladiator is to Titus, because it goes in its own way and it makes a completely different point.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it starts kind of with a similar premise, but set in a slightly different world.
Yeah.
Or I feel like with Gladiator, it's more set in a more similar world, but with a slightly different character. Because with Gladiator, he really goes off on his own.
It's a multiple different
sooner.
characters, but I just mean it's just the general circumstances is roughly the same.
Yeah, but then them going off in their own directions.
Yeah.
I think in my brain I'm trying to distill it down even further to be like, well, what aspect of it sends it in a different direction? But yeah, it's interesting to think about. But yeah, no, it was fun to watch that, and like young Lucius being in both of them, I was like, okay, wonder what you adapted this from.
At first I was like, maybe it is. Then I'm like, oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, just the young Lucius thing. I was like, that's so specific.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're both drawing from a Roman history that, you know, that has elements of these things, so I guess they both could have drawn that, but it was just so too similar to not notice.
Just a young boy named Lucius who's caught up in it all is super, super specific. I mean, I guess it's a very Greek name. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet. Roman, yeah.
So, we found a winner. We're happy. We were worried because I'm like, is this podcast just going to be a bunch of episodes of us just like getting mad at Shakespeare productions?
I know. I was worried about that too. I don't want to do that.
Man, this was so good. And so we're going to get into it. There is a lot. Go ahead and just call it right now. It's going to be a two-parter.
Sounds right.
But
I'm happy that we're going to spend 2 parts talking about something
that we
really
love.
dope.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, again,
great?
one of the best movies I've ever seen, hands down, not even considering Shakespeare movies.
Yeah, this is definitely
best
like
movies.
one of my favorite movies.
Also,
ever.
Anthony Hopkins, probably best performances.
Dude.
I like this more than Silence of the Lambs.
Me too. And it's so complex.
It's so much range he has to do.
He even includes his character in Silent of the Lambs in one of the scenes.
He gets a little crazy in this movie, guys.
I love it. He's everywhere. It's a good character in general.
All right, we could probably spend a long time just talking about the opening scene, but I'm going to start off with the opening scene.
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole section about the opening scene that I want to
so the
talk
opening
about.
scene, okay, if I may paint this picture, the opening scene starts off just like in a kitchen, and it's just like a bunch of like snacks and toys and like stuff, and like it's
like modern day looking.
Modern day, it's very 90s anyway.
Yeah.
And there's like little boy. It has, artificially dramatic lighting, but it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And then the little boy just like starts going to town on this smorgasbord of fun and sugar, and he just like starts like there's a fire truck, and he throws it in the shake, and he spills the shake, and he just starts like destroying it. Not necessarily mad, not necessarily happy.
I mean,
just
the thing I was noticing too is they're all war toys. Like they're all soldiers, or they're all fighters, or things like that. Superheroes.
Which I guess that's fair. I mean, I would say that is general enough to be. I don't want to get really into that deep, but like.
They're like boy toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like all toys. In the way it's shot, it looks like a 90s commercial for a toy.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of like ridiculous like jarring zoom in and zoom out. Like if you would have just took out the sound of the movie and you just said, Look at this new toy. Now fire trucks, you're gonna get this. And like
the new Tonka truck.
It would have fit perfectly.
Yeah.
That's how this movie opens. But then it slowly fades from like this kid who's like not really kind of having a tantrum and like destroying all this shit.
Yeah, getting aggressive.
To like actual modern war sounds of gunfiring in the background and missiles going off and vehicles. And then suddenly like everything's kind of on fire.
So, like, an actual bomb explodes outside his window.
Yeah, and then, like, the wall of the house is gone. And there's, like, this guy who... So it gets really bizarre. Again, like, this is the surreal part of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing else is captivating, I think that's the only part it wasn't, like, I mean, I guess it was clear enough what it meant about... We'll talk about it. But this guy runs in and he grabs the boy, and then he like goes in deeper into the house, but turns out this house has like this corridor that goes down, and now suddenly it's not a modern house anymore. It looks like these stone old like corridor passageway.
Yeah. And
he's taking the boy and he's just running with him, and he runs out and he makes a right, and then now he's like in this kind of old world. And then he runs out, and turns out that was the door to the Colosseum in Rome.
Like the Colosseum.
And he takes out the boy to what is the sound of a roaring applause, but the Colosseum's empty. Yeah. And then he picks up the boy, and it's like, and I think there's like fire in the background still, like
some fire.
Or yeah, and then he holds up the boy over his head and just starts screaming, and everybody's cheering, and then he puts him down, and so like. Should I finish this scene, or you want to talk about it?
I think you should finish it, and then we should talk about it.
Okay, so he puts the boy down, and there is a kid. Wait, I'm trying to remember specifically.
So the kid gets put down, and there's all these soldiers.
Yeah, I vaguely like know all this. I'm trying to remember, like, should I go shot by shot, because every shot in this opening feels important.
Yes.
It feels like they're saying something with every single shot.
Yes.
Is there one soldier first before all the other ones come in?
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah. So anyway, no, it's Anthony. Anthony is like no, he comes in last. Anyway.
Yeah, he comes in last. So after a procession.
So there's a procession. There's like a bunch of soldiers with all this like mud on their face. It looks like they are old. It looks like I think they're supposed to look like they've aged since the time of the Roman Empire.
To me, what it looks like is the mud on their faces makes them kind of look like statues, which makes them feel important. And at the same time, it looks like they've come back from war and are just destroyed and dirty and tired.
Yeah.
Like both of those things at the same time, which is super interesting.
How much of that do you think is because you know the story?
Honestly, I don't, because I think part of it is because you said something to the effect of, like, they just came back from war, and I was like,
no, I didn't say that.
Well, I don't know. You might have said it and then forgot.
Well, they're, like, caked in mud, again, like they're about to fight the Predator.
But to me, it's not like a procession of, like, here are our finest warriors. Like, they've been through some shit, clearly.
They didn't look tired to me because they did a dance number. They were, like, doing choreography.
Well, I don't know if tired's the right word, but they looked like they'd been through some shit physically. Like, they didn't look like, oh, we're showing you all our finest warriors because, like, this is just a showmanship of our war power. Like, and this is a demonstration. It felt like these guys have been to war and came back, and that's why they're covered in mud.
Well,
like,
the mud.
Do you know what I mean?
No. I don't agree with that specifically, but we're still in agreement about how great this movie was. But the mud seemed...
It was a good design choice.
I think it was a good design choice, too. The mud was meticulously applied and evenly caked all over their face. It wasn't like they were just got out of some mud. And they were doing this, like, choreography as they were coming in, but it was like a procession. Like, something is about to happen, and what is about to happen is that once they all get in, and it was also, like, beautiful. Like, I think I said to Chloe, this would work on stage great.
Yeah.
And
but the interesting thing about using this medium is they never could have fit all these people on stage.
That's true.
That was the coolest part.
Yeah, I just felt like the translation was very doable. Like, if you saw this on stage and you decided to do it this way, like, it works.
Right, but what I'm saying...
Or vice versa.
What I'm saying is, like, that's why it was so cool, because it was like, this would work amazing on stage. Also, we could never do it to this degree on stage.
And got all the angles they wanted.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially, I imagine choreography... I always think about this. Choreography on stage only looks... I mean, if you do it right, I imagine it looks good from more angles, but a lot of times it probably looks good from, like, one angle.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones is just, like, people are doing things in unison. But
it's just like fight choreography.
But the shapes you're trying to make and the things that are supposed to look cool, you lose it for most of the audience.
Right.
Which is hilarious. So anyway, she probably got all those things that she wanted in choreographing it for film, because, like, they had all these spear actions, and, like, they would... You know, like, it was very beautiful, and it was, like, a great introduction. So what they're doing is they're introducing the king who's about to come.
Yeah.
Or not the king, the general who's about to come.
Yeah.
Who's Anthony Hopkins. And he, like, walks through the middle, and he, like, comes in and he's caked in mud too, and he gets on the stage, and like and the boy right now, we're not quite sure is supposed to be diegetic or not. We're not supposed to sure if anybody's supposed to notice him, or he's like
if he's real, or if he's us.
Yeah, exactly. Or if he's just like an onlooker that they're supposed to represent us, because he's still wearing his modern clothes.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing I liked about this intro before we move on? It was the movement piece we've been talking about. It was the It was exactly that thing that we've been saying about a couple of these plays where it's like, dude, if you just had a movement piece at the beginning of this before we started the play, it would set up the dynamics between these characters, or it would set up like this world, and like, you know, we could have whatever it is. They did it. They did the movement piece that we've been talking about, that like we saw in that Tempest we saw on stage. Like, I don't know. I don't want to prescribe anything for all Shakespeare productions, but for me, if I'm ever directing one, I'm probably going to do a fucking movement piece at the beginning of the production, because, like... it's
entertaining while conveying things without just raw words.
It doesn't just, like, throw us into the world. It gets us into it more slowly. Like, and it's not even about slowly. It's more just, like, there are certain things that you might want to know before we go. Yeah, I don't know. It made me very happy, because it was like the thing that we've been saying, like, they should do this. They should try that. And then they did it, and it worked. Like,
it was a very entertaining movement piece. And it
was very satisfying.
It did a lot to convey how, honestly, what Rome was like, maybe, or like how, like, the budget helped. I mean, like, how in-depth the costumes were, how important Anthony Hopkins is, Titus is, and... all of those things. So we finally come, and Anthony comes in. He does look tired. He does look exhausted.
Yeah.
And with the mud on his face, you're right, it does like add that extra layer. And he has this whole speech about how the war is over, and we are so happy that it's over because we are tired. And I love the line where he's like I salute you guys with my tears. And I was like, oh God. And then...
Oh, I actually wrote down the quote you said about them being covered in mud. You said they look dead.
They did. It looked like they were well, because again, we got introduced to the movie in the 90s, so it looked like the kid was looking at dead old Roman soldiers.
Yeah. So
that's what it looked like. I said not dead as in the look their faces. Like, I thought the movie was trying to tell me they were dead.
That all makes sense now.
So the war's over, and he's also mad through the speech, or that his sons are dead. And this is another testament to like Anthony's performance. Because while I can't always follow the language on the first read through, like, I got everything he was trying to say.
Yes.
It was just him giving a speech. I didn't have any context for him to work with, or like other people besides, you know, the setting. But it was great. He was so sad. And again, this is where movies can help, because that close up shot on his face helped.
Dude. We get to focus in and just drink in everything he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so we're also gesturing to like all these like dead people. Some of them are his sons, but they wrapped him up like mummies. And I'm just like, Rome has mummies?
I know. I thought that was interesting, especially in the idea that we're looking at this maybe through the lens of the little boy.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Because to me, it's like, well, what do mummies mean? They mean respect for the dead. They mean ritualization, and like how much we honor our ancestors and our dead. And to me, like, if I were a little boy, I would be like, who honors their ancestors the most? The ancient Egyptians, because they made them into mummies. You know, like, I think...
I thought that was about to happen too, yeah.
Conflating ancient Rome with ancient Egypt, if you're a little boy, makes sense too.
Right now, to us, and I still think that's kind of the case. Like,
yeah.
Everybody, the boy is supposed to be seen as either symbolic and non-diegetic at the least.
Yeah.
Meaning the people that he's interacting with don't know he's there. Also, because he's standing on stage with Anthony
Titus,
Hopkins,
yeah,
and like no one's acknowledging him. He's just like watching, like a fly on a wall. So
right.
I'm on board for that. I'm like, cool. That's a really cool way to try to do that.
Right.
It tells me that you're keeping me in mind and trying to inform me.
Yes,
as opposed
absolutely.
to just running away from me.
Totally.
And so that happens. Then we have immediately, like, we basically go to the shower room.
Yeah.
And like his remaining alive sons, who I'm still trying to parse out who everybody is, and I'm like, I'm ready here, trying to like, okay, I gotta get all these names. Turns out I don't need them because I don't remember half of them, and the movie was still amazing.
Yeah.
So, but like it's, oh man, the direction too, like everything was just so beautifully. The cinematography was just beautiful. Like everything was very bold shapes, very like big, like lighting choices it's very stark.
Yeah.
A ton of contrast. A lot of dark that she uses, and it's them washing all the mud off now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what you were saying about how they were so tired. Like they were look tired in this one. They're like, it's like they just won the basketball game and they're just like just in the locker room, just like fuck. Like, can I please get clean? Like this is awful.
Exactly. Like I'm exhausted. I feel disgusting. I want to wash this off of me. I want to wash this experience off of me.
Yeah. And that's
it was so clear.
Yeah, I agree. And that's basically our opening scene before we get to kind of like the next thing that starts to drive the plot.
Yeah.
Because it just sets up Anthony's like state of mind, and then we go to now because we just finished with war, the POWs of the war they just fought, like the spoils of war.
They're prisoners.
And what what we find out is the queen of the Goths, which is basically, I'm gonna make a lot of Game of Thrones references because it'll be easier for people to understand.
Yeah.
But the Goths are basically the wildlings.
Yeah, I mean, and you were making those references throughout the movie.
I'm gonna make them a lot.
Kind of to be funny, but I mean,
that's exactly what it is.
It was super exciting to me because part of it is like some of Game of Thrones was a little bit based on that, and like
totally.
And also,
I wholly believe George R.R. Martin is a huge Shakespeare fan.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Like, if not, they're both fans of history, so there's a lot of like crossover.
Who's both fans of history? George R.R. Martin and
Shakespeare.
And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, but it was also like it all of your analyses of those were spot on, which made me feel like I don't know, like both like Julie Taymor was utilizing some of the kind of archetypal things that we recognize to help us recognize these characters and help us know where they're going to fit in this world, so that then we can kind of set that aside and, you know, get into it and see kind of more of the nuance of these characters and where they're going from here, now that we've set up like, oh, like they're all blonde, so they look like each other. All the Goths are blonde, so like got it. And they look kind of punky, which totally checks out. I was in a production once where all the Goths were literally...
They wore leopard the whole movie.
I know! I was in a production once where all the Goths were literally goth, which was so much fun. It was hilarious. It was backroom Shakespeare, of course.
That's very funny.
Yeah, but like just things like that where it's clear what they're supposed to be, and that way once they turn out to be something slightly different than we expected, or once they turn out to be a way similar to what we expected, it teaches us something about this world.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that might seem like a superficial choice, like make them all wear the same color, but like even if we're talking about cultural differences, a lot they will look like the same because they're from the same culture,
right? And
we would look differently, or they would be, you know, whatever, a different race or different something.
And it even underscores the point of like they are different from us.
Yeah. I'm not saying you need to cast races for different cultures,
right.
But you know what I mean. Like,
no, I do.
There'll be some very clear visual choice that is like helping us without having to intellectually like break down and categorize all these people on our own.
Right. It's like dressing the Capulets in red and the Montagues in blue.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that either. Actually, don't do that. It's been done a lot. But that kind of thing, yeah.
Painting in bold strokes is how we actually put it a lot of times.
Put the Capulets in leopard print and the Montagues in zebra.
So anyway, they bring in the POWs of this war, and Anthony's just kind of like, he's like, hey, he's not dispassionate, but he's like, the gist of what I'm getting, what he's saying is like, hey, I'm following the rules.
Yeah.
My son died. Now I'm going to kill your eldest son because that's the spoils of war. This is how it goes. And he almost makes it seem like it's not my choice.
Yeah.
And so the queen is like, I'm begging you. You already won. We'll do whatever you want. Don't kill him, please.
Do anything.
And she's doing a great job. She's like just desperate. And he's like, nope, I'm marking your son. And he like marks his chest and he goes like, hey, yo, my other sons, go kill him. And they leave and to kill him. And she's just like, you motherfucker. She's so fucking mad at him. And they kill him off stage. And they just bring back a handful of entrails, and
because it's basically a sacrifice.
Exactly, and exactly that's what Anthony's saying. He's like, I'm not doing it for like revenge or anything because you killed my sons in the war. This is what you do. This is how you end war.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And his other son just brings back literally a handful of entrails and just plops them in the bowl, and he's like, that's it. He's dead, and I got the entrails.
Over. Right.
It was very transactional.
Yeah. And I think that was set up really clearly too, in the performance and in everything about it. And what was I gonna say about that? You were asking when we were watching it about him getting killed off stage. And I think that there are a couple reasons why that happens for both the play and the production that I think are super.
Does it happen in the plays that you see?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay,
it happens. It's in the text.
That happens.
They take him off, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of the thing that's good about that storytelling wise is that one of the things is it makes it more transactional, like you're saying. It's clearly not a revenge thing. If anything, it's kind of merciful of him to not kill her son in front of her, maybe.
And he was gone and had the entrails back in like 30 seconds, so it had to be a quick death.
And then the other big thing about it is it helps us ramp up. Like it helps if we saw somebody get killed, like get their throat cut or get disemboweled.
Got it.
In the first 10 minutes of the play, the play doesn't have as far to go.
Totally get it.
So if we like hear a scream, that's a nice thing that like indicates to us, oh, we're gonna see there's gonna be violence, but we're not seeing it yet, you know. And then then it can escalate all the way to the final scene, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be giving away the summary, Chloe.
I know. I'm not giving it away. I'm just saying we'll get there. See, it's just like the play. It's setting up something will happen, but it doesn't say what. Oh, violence.
And so, the queen is like, you motherfucker, and she just turns into this like cold fury and just like also just like she's very mad, and so we're supposed to understand that like she's gonna be a character in this, and then that's basically how like the first that's the first and second scene, but that's how they tie into each other, and then we finally like jump setting. That's like the end of the first like little section of the play.
Would you describe that as the thing that pushes Tamara to the brink?
Absolutely.
I think so too.
That's I mean, like her life has context beyond this movie, even though the movie is here. No, but I mean, yes and no. Okay, if I'm really getting into that analogy about pushing people to the brink, it doesn't really apply to her in the way that you may think, because her government was just overthrown.
Sure.
So if we're using government as that Venn diagram that I'm talking about, the rules of engagement for her are gone.
Totally changed, yeah.
Because she's a prisoner of war.
So maybe this is just a very clear effect of that.
Yeah.
Of that original schema being gone.
Yeah, I don't think, based on her kids and how crazy they are from the get-go, I don't think she ever had a line. I think her and her kids' line was always, that's what I'm saying, the kids are the line that's saying, before they even experienced anything, they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like, their Venn diagram does not touch the civilized Venn diagram.
No. They just do what they want.
They're the feral beasts I'm talking about.
Master of the house.
And based on the fact that they're already developed in being like that before this even starts, I would say that Tamara was like that already too. So, but this focuses her fury on Titus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Interesting. I feel like we never know, too, because we don't see her before this play. We know that about her kids, but I think that's a good theory. That,
I mean,
because her
kids aren't raised in a vacuum. They're raised by her, and she was the queen. Right. So, like, it's not like she didn't have agency.
Right.
So, yeah, fuck yeah. They're straight up wildins. All right, so scene 2-ish. This is the first, like, not only scene change, but kind of, like, visual and, like, genre change, like, feel-wise. Like, the movie is now it's surreal in the sense that it doesn't want to stick to a time period or like a music style or like a pace. Like it changes, but I am here for it. It is so good.
Maybe that's part of what makes it so good, is that it doesn't feel like it has to be loyal to those things.
Yeah,
because I think that
it has
that
the same theme. Like, it has a really strong theme through line of like what everyone's choices are, and like in all the situations that everyone is trying to make decisions based on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't seen too many movies that, I don't want to say none of others exist, but like that you can just jump around so much with different characters and different like setting change, like time period changes and different like, but yet it'd be so clear what's going on. I'm sure the examples exist, but this is just like this is a fucking great one.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and immediately it's clear that it's a political rally. And it's just like it's
jubilant.
It's hilariously clear, and it's like they jump back to like the kind of 90s, like it's 1990s clothes. I guess clothes can kind of be ambiguous from the 60s or 50s to now, but like it's clearly a political rally. People have megaphones. People are marching in the streets. They're driving a car really slowly. Alan Cumming is in a Pope mobile.
Yeah. Like they're like making speeches on microphones.
Exactly.
And like the overall feel, like the first scene has felt very epic, a little bit sliding through time. almost kind of
dramatic, very slow.
Dramatic, like almost
somber.
kind of fairy tale, but like dark fairy tale.
And we jump into this political rally, and there's like zany jazz playing.
Yes.
It's like a
and like upbeat too. It's like it's funny.
It's very
it's clearly
swing.
funny.
There's like a saxophone wailing in the background, and like it's like almost supposed to be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Alan Cumming is like has the emo haircut.
Yes.
Clearly
like
saying he's a bad guy. He's dressed in all black leather. His guys look like the Gestapo. He looks like a Nazi.
Yeah, he does.
But it plays for comedy.
Yeah.
And then and he has one group of clear followers with a car, and it's like so zonky and wany. Like, I don't know, zany, and I don't know how to just
zany and wonky.
Zany and wonky.
It's
Jesus
so
Christ.
Zany and wonky that it's
zonky,
wonky and zany.
Yeah.
Wait, wany and zonky.
We don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But then there's another. So Alan Cumming is the center of this one political rally, and there's another political rally going on at the same time with who we find out is his brother. I don't ever catch his name throughout the movie, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for my understanding of what happens. I mean, you should know his name, but we wanted to.
Bassianus, if you're wrong.
Just say it.
Bassianus.
Bassianus. Okay. Like,
it doesn't matter though.
Yeah,
you're so right. It does not matter.
For my understanding of the play, and just we decided that after the last movie, I'm not going to be asking Chloe whose names are whose during the production because it's important for me to know it or not know it and have that
because of the production or not. Or does it matter? It doesn't matter here.
And I'm firmly sure that it does not matter.
We watched Gladiator, and I think the only person whose name I know is Maximus.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
there's probably a lot of newer movies that are like that, where like as long as the narrative is clear enough.
Yeah, as long as I know who the characters are, I don't care what their name is.
It's the same as like reading a book, and I noticed that when I read a ton of fantasy and sci-fi, and when there's names I don't recognize, I notice that when I'm trying to refer to them when I'm talking to them, it's sometimes like a name but I don't pronounce, and I'm just like in my head I'm gonna call you Jeff, and I do that, and I don't know, but as long as I see the name, I just recognize the name and I know who I'm talking about in the book.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking to other people, I realize I don't know their name, but recognizing the name is the same thing as recognizing their face.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm saying is that
it's a reference.
It technically doesn't matter. For your own viewing purposes.
Yeah, if Paul forgets your name, it's not personal.
I'm fucking bad with names. I'm realizing more and more. I'm so sorry.
What's my name, Paul? Say it. Say it right now.
Yeah, you. Pretty lady.
I'll take it.
All right, so they're having a political rally. Alan Cumming, emo Pope-mobile. And then also
wait, I want a band name.
Also before we see the rally, the little boy is back and he's sitting on the steps.
Yes.
And he's sitting on the steps with a beautiful shot of just this huge archway built, and I'm like, that's a real building, and the building looks like it was built for this play for this movie, for just the way it matches everything. Turns out they filmed it in Rome.
Yeah.
And the building.
I don't even know if that building was real though, because what it looked like to me was like
the flags were CGI.
All the arches that you would have on the Colosseum, but it's shaped like an office building.
Exactly, like a
fascinating,
like a 2000s like just sterile corporate building.
Yeah.
But it has arches that remind you of the Colosseum.
Right, and I think that so here's the other thing too.
It may have been fake.
And this is a good thing to know about Shakespeare in general. I've seen a lot of Shakespeare productions that are set in a different and specific time, or that do this thing that this movie does where they the time period is kind of wonky isn't the word, just fluid. The time period is fluid.
Yeah.
And I've seen it go well and I've seen it go badly, and I'm always trying to figure out why. And I think I'm still trying to put my finger on exactly what it is, or maybe there isn't a specific thing to put it on, but I think with this, it felt like every time that they combined things or, switched something out, like the mummies, it felt like there was a reason behind it. And for this, it felt like we're looking at the world through this little boy's imagination of what Rome would be like. Like the setting that we're seeing is his imagination of what Rome would be like based on his viewpoint on the world today. So like seeing an office building shaped building with Colosseum-like arches, he's like, well, I've seen the Colosseum arches. They must have had buildings made of that. That it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
and not that it always has to be that one-to-one, or not always. It's not that I have to be conscious of that as an audience member, but I think if you're on the side of creating those kind of things, I think it's a good thing to know. Like the mummy thing. It's not just like, oh, let's put mummies in here because, there's a clear reason, and the reason is they respect the dead. And and if we want to get into the psychology of the more specific why, we can be like, well, the little boy would have thought, mummies might conflate it with Rome and just think about ancestors through a childlike lens. But the important thing is there are mummies because they respect the dead. There's an office building because this is also a business place, but it's made of Colosseum because it's made of Colosseum because it's of the time.
Yeah.
So
the only reference he has for Rome might be the Colosseum, so
Yes.
he might have thought every building was built like that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the only thing that confuses me about that is how later in the movie suddenly the boy becomes diegetic.
I know.
Like, so
I want to
that's
talk
the
about
only thing
that when we get
confuses
there
me,
because I think I know why.
I'm fully down for that explanation, and I'm not, and I'm here for it.
Do you feel like when you were watching it? Did you feel confused in a way that you were like, this kind of takes me out of it, or were you just confused in a way where you're like, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm here for it.
The symbolism of the boy was now suddenly not as clear, but it didn't happen in such a way. Like the boy is not like a huge part of this movie. Like he's an established piece of symbolism, and then suddenly he becomes diegetic, and so that symbolism now either becomes more profound in such a way that I don't know what's happening, or or it's just confusing to me, or doesn't make sense for some reason. But like, we'll get into the boy. But
I'll save my thoughts for when we get to
the next scene. The boy's not in the movie again for the next like hour.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like that's like our main driving force. It's just one element.
Yeah.
And there's so many more elements that it does not bother me that he becomes diegetic.
Cool.
But as of right now, I couldn't give you a good explanation because of that.
Oh, I can't. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this all day.
So, yeah. So the boy looks up at this building, which we think might be conceivably a small boy in the 90s conceit of what a office building might look like in Rome, which is great. And then suddenly a bunch of black flags come out of the sides, and so that's a pretty universal sign that somebody died. And so now the fact that the rally is right after that,
and he's got a newspaper.
Exactly, the newspaper that blows by that says Caesar's dead.
Right.
And so that's great. It tells us all we need to know about the world. The sons are so power hungry, or so the political situation is such that a rally for who's next in power would happen on the same fucking day.
Yeah, it was even so clear that as soon as we cut into that scene with Pope Mobile Alan Cumming and some other person in a car, Paul goes, so this is right after the Colosseum office building scene, Paul goes, oh, those must be Caesar's sons, and they're trying to vie for power. I was like, oh my God, they haven't even said anything yet, and it's so clear, but they weren't like smacking you in the face with it. It just, that's the next logical step.
Yeah, for sure. And
I love it.
And that's another thing why it's like it was smart to put something that we would recognize as a political rally.
Yes.
If it was just a bunch of people marching in the streets, you wouldn't know why.
And that's what I've seen a lot in productions of Titus, where it's like, what are they doing? I feel like that scene's been really unclear a lot of times that I've seen it either, on stage or film or whatever, because like we don't have those indicators that tell us that it's a modern political rally. It's a lot of times it's just people yelling. I'm like, why are they yelling? Why are they
There's
yelling?
something that me and Chloe talk about a lot of times with like communicating ideas, and the use of tropes sometimes seem like fickle and like superficial, but a lot of times they serve as building blocks that you're doing things that we recognize. It's the reason like character actors like can do characters that we recognize.
Yeah.
Like they he's the guy there's an archetype. And so there's situational archetypes, there's like political archetypes, there's people archetypes, there's like, I mean, maybe there may not be official definitions of all those things, but if you know what an archetype is, you know what I'm saying. There's like a previous like construct that exists in our culture that we can just point to and be like, okay, if you know this, if you know this, and you know this, now I can get to my real point.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's what plays can do if they utilize those things correctly.
Yeah, and you can reverse the archetype too. Like you can introduce someone as this archetype, and then they're the big strong man, and then you reveal like they have a lot of feelings, which can then make us in society go, oh, look at that big strong man, maybe he has some feelings.
It's
you know what I
like,
mean?
That's
the simplest way to.
It's engineering in the sense that you don't have to build everything from scratch. You can use all these components, but you can use them in such clever ways to build something that's never been built before.
Yeah, it's like
and so
cooking.
that's why that's the infinite nature of plays, how you can make it however
storytelling.
you want.
Yeah.
Storytelling, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, absolutely. But plays specifically in this case.
Yeah. oh, this is definitely a two-parter. Like, there's like stuff to break down on every scene. I hope this is getting there.
I feel like I'm feasting right now. I'm like feasting on this art.
Yeah, you're.
No.
So yeah, definitely the mixing of the old and the new like also establishes very quickly in this movie that time means not much. Like it's going to be very fluid. It's going to be very
in terms of setting.
Yeah, it's going to be very
In terms of setting or in
time
terms of...
period doesn't mean much.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Thank
checking.
you. No,
Just double
that's an
checking.
important
Yeah.
distinction. So they do a couple things here. So now because this is a complicated scene. There's a lot that's going on for us to like understand. So the fact that they're painting in bold strokes, help me so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so Titus says, both political rallies where this boy was sitting, both political rallies both show up at the same time that Titus shows up on the same stairs as all of the Congress and political people show up on the same stairs.
Yeah.
So like everybody just meets in the middle and they have to have this conversation and you're supposed to know where everybody's standing, and the movie does it great. So with the people who meet on the top of the stairs are all of the senators, the political power.
Mm-hmm.
And then the two rallies meet and the heads of which are both of Caesar's sons.
Yeah. These two crowds.
Yeah, the two crowds.
Yeah.
And
they're all very clearly dressed and carrying flags for their people.
Alan Cummings is dressed like a Nazi, and so are his people are
all
Gestapo.
his
And the other guy
red and black flags.
is more vaguely dressed in his just whole demeanor.
It's a different color. I can't remember which one, but they're all clearly with him.
But his whole demeanor is very like
not an asshole.
A little more humble.
Yeah.
And reasonable.
Yes.
And so Anthony Hopkins has a fucking dope ass red leather cape, which I love.
Yes.
as his costume. But they're like, well, you won the war for us. You want to be King Anthony Hopkins? And he was like, nah, fuck that.
I mean, they're pretty much like, you're king now.
Yeah.
He's like, no,
he's
no.
like, no, I'm happy with my general status because like military life suits me. It's got rules, it's got structure. I know how to do it. I've been doing it forever. I'm cool here.
I just got home also from this big war.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that right now.
And so he's like,
but it's his thing.
He's like, I don't want to be king. They're like, well, will you like advise us on who should be king or who should be Caesar? And he's like, well, Caesar's sons are there, and Alan Cummings older, so Alan Cumming.
Yes, another clear example of he's following the rules.
Yes, he's very. I called him. I said he's Ned Stark.
Yeah, because if he follows the rules of society, which he's clearly done his whole life to get to the status of general, he's gonna get just as much back.
I was gonna say,
and that's what he's learned throughout his whole life.
What I was gonna say is that in some ways he's living in a bubble.
Yes.
A bubble where the rules are good and rules always work.
Rules will benefit everyone.
Yeah, if you follow the rules, you will get ahead.
Yes.
And it's like, in some senses, that's the lie we live in.
Yeah.
I mean, every bubble is in some sense a lie because it's in a bigger bubble with different rules.
Yeah.
But like the more different it is and like the more pressure is outside that bubble, the bigger the lie is. And in his case, it was all in the situation where it was becoming more and more of a lie.
Yeah.
Which is such that that's the universal thing which makes us powerful.
Yeah. Imagine if he'd taken the job. Like, imagine if he'd just been like, okay, I'll be Caesar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, this is definitely one of those crossroads moments where one decision is the night and day difference of a life, for sure.
Yeah.
But I would argue, again, on my side of the inevitability of kind of the path that life takes in some senses. I think we've talked about this before. Yeah. I mean, because he is who he is, he was incapable of making the other choice. Which
I love.
Yeah.
I think that's true too. I'm with you. Like I think that's one of the interesting things in our in my opinion about tragedy. Yes, I agree. And like in the tragedy, we don't always recognize tragedy, but like it's like watching a drug addict go down that it's like watching a car crash. It's like, you know, or like it's even more tragic. I feel like when you see it happening in slow motion, like you see somebody making choice after choice after choice, and you like drugs is a potent and sad, but also good comparison because it in some sense there is no choice, or the drive to make that bad choice is just so strong that you don't see how you could have convinced them otherwise. Right. Like I don't think anybody could have convinced Titus to take the Caesar role. Yeah. It's very much who he is to not take it. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that. I love that so much. Me too. It's something that we can all relate to, I feel like. Yeah, and I think some of the problem that you've had, at least the way I've heard it from you, with some of the Shakespearean productions of tragedies that we've seen, is that I feel like it hasn't necessarily set up on stage for us in a clear way that either this is who this person is or this is their circumstances that are going to lead them down this path. Like we keep talking about the dominoes not getting set up so that they can get knocked down later. Yeah. And I think that's something I'm pinging super strongly right here, that they're doing well.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate.
Even when we get to this crossroads, we know he's gonna do the rule following correct thing.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part of that is that we've seen some productions with some great actors.
Oh yes.
And I don't think it's the actor's fault.
No.
It's either the edit, or they didn't give it, or the director, and they didn't give him enough time to build it up, or didn't do it in the right way. This movie just happens to do it really well in a really short amount of time.
Yes.
Which is genius.
Yeah.
Julie,
yeah.
Julie,
we love you, Julie. Julie, I want to party with you.
All right.
Julie, have you ever thought about doing a film production of Hamlet? You know.
I think she would crush. I think she would crush whatever she did.
Call me, Julie.
So he tells council to elect Nazi Alan Cumming, emo Nazi Alan Cumming, and
and it's funny too, because no one would ever make that choice if you're like taking a step back and thinking about it, but he can't do that.
Can't.
Yeah,
it's, which is again, so, and that's another thing, like resonating, like the choices that resonate with the person that you know the character is. Like, so clearly, that's why I'm arguing about my point about what this play means is just based on what people do, because it's the character, I think, is so well developed that these choices resonate with someone like this would actually do, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
to know someone so well, to know what they eat for breakfast, or like what they would do in this situation, and when you find yourself just wanting to get to a certain ending, you start making people make choices that gets you to that ending, and it breaks the character more and more. Yeah. And there's a gradient to that. You can erode a character but not break them, but you end up wherever the story goes with a character that is not as strong as you started out with if you do that.
Right.
And it can be like any kind of gradient. So you can end up with like a bunch of okay, passable characters that do stuff that strengthens or kind of some things didn't really make sense, but you want to explain it away with whatever circumstance you can. But this movie just was an example of how it's possible to just understand that to like a granular level. Chloe's about to cry again.
One thing I want to ping before we move on to the next section is Lavinia, because we didn't talk about her.
No, I'm getting there.
Oh, great.
I'm not
okay, awesome.
Because again, all these things are happening at once.
Yeah.
So we're getting that Alan Cumming is like, he actually is. They're all about to, like, the brothers are about to strongly argue to the point of like almost fighting the senators for I should be king. But then the senators are like, no, Anthony Hopkins should be king. And so they're like, reluctantly, they're like, yeah, you're right, he did win the war for us. And they're like, but they're just,
and everybody loves him, so he can't really fight.
Exactly. And that's another thing that they're like setting up. It's like the love of the people is like a big factor in this. It's not just an official decision.
Right.
And then Anthony Hopkins looks over to see his daughter, and he sees his daughter making out with the second brother, not the Nazi brother, but the not Alan Cumming, but the other brother that, what's his name again?
Which one, Saturninus or Bassianus? Bassianus is the one she's kissing. Yeah,
exactly. So his daughter is like making out with Bassianus, and like they did that for purposely just to show us that they're in love without having to say anything.
It was great.
Because like,
it was great.
It was funny because they were both like, it was kind of awkward that they were doing that because they're like in the middle of like this political debate, and it's like it's as if Joe Biden was like doing a debate with Donald Trump, and then as Donald Trump was doing like his side of the debate, Joe Biden just leaned over and made out with his wife.
Oh
like,
my god!
Just like on the side, just like, I'm not talking yet. It's not my turn. Now I'm just making out with you. Like,
that's hilarious.
That's how this scene played, because they were also on the steps in front of everybody, basically on a stage.
Yeah.
And they're just like trying to make because
Anthony Hopkins' face was hilarious.
Because he turned over to look at his daughter, but he got her getting tongued down by Bassianus, and it was like literally a half second showing us that. But it just did it to set it up, and I agree. Do it.
Right.
Great choice.
Right. And especially because it sets us up for that next scene. There's one more thing I want to say about Lavinia before we go into this next scene. So at the end of the tomb scene, when they're still in the tomb, killing the Goth and burying the mummy sons. So she shows up at the very end after everyone leaves to talk to Titus. We see that Titus loves his daughter. He says something along the lines of like, you are my hope in this dark world. Like, basically just like, I'm so happy to be home to see you. It's an important moment.
I'm sorry I forgot
she clearly is like the bright spot, like, or just the thing that not totally transcends, but seems like in some ways it just, like, he has this grid of his life, and like she's just a sunshine in his life.
I honestly think she represents innocence to him.
Yeah, I think so too.
His
Yes.
sons are very
They're
soldiers,
hardened like him.
and like I think part of his philosophy and part of his rules is like men are dispensable warriors.
Yes, and I think that's a huge part of not only his philosophy,
the
but
culture
this play.
at the time. Yeah, and the people.
What this play's trying to say.
A lot of societies function like that for a long time before now. I mean, in some ways, you could argue they still function like that.
Especially like within the culture of the military.
Yeah, I mean, like,
in general though.
Functioning logistically, some nations that's
Right.
that's an element of how national security works.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Anyway, yeah, that's a different podcast.
But also, she reveres him in such a important
she
way
loves
too.
him.
I wrote that I thought she seemed like a religious zealot the way she looked at him. She looked at him like.
Well, that's not really
like,
that's like
I know, but like the way I perceived the way she was acting it was like she looked like to him like movies you see like someone's in a cult and she is like one of the brainwashed people in the cult. Like that's I mean like clearly I misread it, but I mean like that's what it looked like. And she was just like her eyes were just like you're God.
I don't think you're totally wrong.
Yeah.
I think he's been gone a lot in her life, and so he's less of a like intimate father than he is someone she respects so much and looks up to.
And I bet you all she hears is your dad is the best person ever because he's leading our armies. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So she gets back and she's like Superman.
Yeah,
amazing.
Superman. My dad is Superman.
Yeah.
So that leads us into the Senate scene.
Yes, it does lead us into the next scene. So now we quickly find out that Alan Cumming would make a terrible king, and he goes to sit down on this like. Oh my God! I think I wrote down like every new scene we got to. I'm like the sets.
Yeah.
The sets.
The sets.
So fucking good.
Yes.
Like everything was just. It was a wonderful, culturally and time ambiguous set that just like it's like if you have a room that you're using, a building today that you're shooting in, you're painting on a canvas that already has paint on it because this exists. They just built all their own sets, so they had a blank canvas to like point with they put the right colors, the right shapes, the right blocking to say whatever exactly they wanted to say, and her vision was so specific that drove all these points home.
I think I just not totally nailed down, but got a little closer to nailing down my thing about ambiguous time frame, and I think that you can be as ambiguous with your time frame as you want as long as you're clear about what the meaning is under that.
Ambiguous for ambiguous sake is stupid.
Right.
But if you're using
ambiguous that doesn't mean anything is stupid. But
I agree.
Ambiguous if there's a meaning that, and not only a meaning that but a meaning that can be conveyed, then that's dope.
And I feel like her experience with theater informs all of that.
It does.
Because that's what you do. You build the sets, like you create those like bold strokes. You were talking about animation recently.
Yeah.
And like how I have very, very little experience with animation, but I know that it's hard and it takes like a shitload of time. There's stronger tools now to do it and computers are faster, but just the fact that you have to animate somebody's mouth moving and like to all these things in time, you want to make it as clear as possible, and that has to boil down to the writing. You can't afford fluff dialogue.
No.
You have to move these scenes along, and like the pace and the flow of animation a lot of times is really good by necessity.
Yeah, you have to make it as concise as possible. The storytelling,
exactly,
but just by the virtue of the tools you're using, needs to be concise, so it becomes concise, so it's something good to look to for storytelling.
Exactly, and I think that hones people's skill level with that, just like Julie's, I think, I would imagine, experience with theater hones her skill level for set design.
Interesting.
And it translated to movies beautifully.
Yeah, I agree.
And this again, like, makes me realize that there had to be a budgeting issue with The Tempest.
Yeah.
That's why some of those shots were just like, somebody just went out there with the camera on a vague island and just got all these shots in a day.
I wonder, too, because they had so many stars in that one, and they had a lot of stars in this one, too, but, like, because they had so many stars, maybe they were on a time constraint, too.
Maybe.
And I feel like, and I wonder if they were on a time constraint with the CG as well. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. We don't know, but we just know that it wasn't Julie's fault.
Like
Stop coming for Julie, us.
God, Chloe Paul, stop. Leave Julie alone.
Leave Julie alone. Past us.
I don't know what happened, but that's my new theory.
Yeah, me too.
Is that it was something else.
Just love her.
Okay, so now we have all these conflicting agendas that are kind of coming into play now.
Yeah.
So we get now that Alan Cumming, God, maybe I should start using his name. What's his name in the movie?
Saturninus. Saturn, like Saturn the planet.
Saturninus.
9 and then
And the
S.
other guy's Bassianus, his brother.
Yeah.
Saturninus, Alan Cumming, is Ramsay Bolton. He is the pettiest and the most vindictive and evil king you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately as he becomes king, he's like, all right, well, I know you guys just killed the wildlings for us, but I'm going to marry the wildling queen.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my brother...
Wait, before that. Who's he going to marry first?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Well, that's the thing I was going to say also, but I guess you're right, first. First, he's like, oh, brother, I know you love Anthony Hopkins' daughter, which is Lavinia.
Mm-hmm.
I want to marry her.
Mostly because
I'm vindictive and I hate you.
It's the only thing you have that I don't.
Exactly. Like he's Ramsay Bolton.
Women are property.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest portion of this that's important is that he says, isn't that right, Anthony Hopkins, that I can take your daughter from you, from her our true love? And he has the first hesitance, but then
so
he's
this
like,
is, this is the thing that could be his line.
But then he's like, what could be his line?
So we're talking about people's lines. I feel like the question for us as the audience is this his line? Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I know, I'm saying it in a different way.
He has his first level of hesitance where he's like, like I wanted to, but then he makes the quick knee-jerk reaction of like, no, the king said it. I have to. Mm-hmm. Rules are bad. Rules are good, guys. That's it.
Yeah.
He's very Hank Hill in this moment. He's like, this is rule. Hank Hill wouldn't do this, but Hank Hill's another character.
Hank Hill would never.
It's all about rules. And he's like, yeah. Oh, sorry, daughter. You gotta go with the king. The king said it. So here we go. Mm-hmm. And again, and the fact that he doesn't really think about it beyond that is another women are property.
Women are property. I feel like that's gotta be like the little jingle for it.
Yeah, and
it's gonna come up so much in Shakespeare.
And she protests. She's not about it, but like ultimately she's kind of helpless.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually Saturninus, like on the same day.
Like in the same meeting.
Yeah, in the same meeting. He's like, well, I guess she doesn't want me back, so fuck that. Well, like she still can't marry anybody else because she's mine, but I'm gonna go ahead and marry the wildling queen. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge moment here where Anthony Hopkins is like, my sons died for this. I just fought a war for this, and you're just marrying her is throwing it all away. Mm-hmm. And they play this moment beautifully where she takes the king's hand she just assumes this new decorum and this new like body language all of a sudden. We're just like, oh yeah, motherfucker, I'm royalty.
Oh God.
And she looks at Anthony Hopkins and she's like, what's up now, motherfucker? Like
yeah.
I'm fuck your world up.
She just got all the power.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. At least enough she outranks the general now. Mm-hmm. She outranks the Tom-Brady general, and we're not sure that he's regretting not taking the. I'm pretty sure he's not regretting it just yet. He kind of just still has faith that like rules will protect me.
Yep.
I still followed all the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I know, and it's really.
It's stressing me out just thinking about it, and I love how much it's stressing me out just thinking about it because it's just like it just was set up so well, and Shakespeare set it up so well in the text, and then Julie played it out so beautifully on the screen.
Yeah.
This is not going to be the last time I do this in this podcast.
But this is this is also, again, this is, dude, it was, Chloe, yeah, this is like the most real reaction to a movie I've ever seen you have. It was really cool to see. Mm. So, but this is the line for his sons, because his sons now have revealed their allegiance for true love over their military duty and over their duty to their father and over their civic duty.
Yeah.
Because they go, or not for true love, but also for their sister's happiness.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, fuck that. She ain't marrying the queen. She doesn't want to. Everybody knows it, and you're not doing anything about it. So all of his sons defect, and they help Bassianus and Lavinia escape. And so they all run away. Yeah. And then Anthony Hopkins chases after them. He's like, what are you doing? This is the law. The king wants it. And then in a scuffle, he kills one of his own sons without batting an eye. And we've not found his wall. So like Anthony Hopkins seems brainwashed to us, but you can also describe it is that his imagination or his line is so close to the center of that Venn diagram that he'd be the last one for it to break. Yeah. He buys the system all in all.
Yeah, like he killed his own son.
But his sons were so like ready. Like his sons like they clearly like knew where their line was. Yes. Because they were like, no, our family is our line. Yes. Not society.
Family. I don't know. I'm not gonna say family is not his line, but this is not his line.
Well, he killed his own son outright, so family is not his line. That's what I'm arguing.
I guess so.
His son made him make the choice, and he made the choice. So whether it's his line or not, he hadn't either. I'm arguing that he hadn't thought about his line and he didn't know where it was. Yeah. And so his default line, or his like,
Yeah,
his
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, his default line was follow the rules, because that's what I mean why he's living in a bubble.
Yes.
Is that he hasn't been forced to make a choice. The illusion has aligned with his actual choices so often that if it ever veered, that this is the first time it's veering.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's the trap.
That's well put. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm kidding. So the boy, so he kills the son, and again, like, then the boy is still, he's been, the little boy we get from the beginning of the movie is still, like, I guess young Lucius, we turn out to find his name.
He's been around.
He's been around, and he's still pretty much
Titus.
He's still pretty much non-diegetic up until this point. Because up until this point where he kills the son, and then the other son's like, aren't really that mad. I mean, they're mad, they're pissed off, but they're pissed off like, you ate the last nacho and I really wanted that nacho. They're yelling at their dad, but like their brother just got killed by their dad, and they don't immediately like go fight their dad. Like they're just like, God damn it, Dad, why'd you do that? Oh, we're so mad now. We're leaving. Like it really shines light on like the dispensable nature of men and soldiers. Like, yeah. And so the dad is like, he ends up saying, fine, you get out of there, but I disown all of you. Fuck you guys. Like, I'm with the king. This is what we were all about. And then this is the boy now gets acknowledged by the sons, and he goes with the sons. Yeah. The son's like, come on, boy, look, you come with us now. Fuck him.
So I want to talk just a little bit more about the boy here, because I think this is super important, because the boy started out in this play not walking up to Titus, but standing next to Titus and literally looking up to him. Like, it feels like he's his favorite toy in the toy box or something, or like he's his grandfather, like both at the same time. And like, we have this image right at the beginning of him literally looking up to Anthony Hopkins. Like, it feels like that's what got him into this world, is looking up to this man, and therefore kind of looking up to the general, the person in charge. Masculinity and like this militaristic, amazing demonstration thing of the opening movement piece. And now we've found his line. His line is, but they love each other, because he's a little boy, and like, he's innocent enough to care about love, and he hasn't been indoctrinated into this thing that Titus has been indoctrinated into. And I feel like the point of this at the start of this whole story is like him kind of learning about, like, him and then us through him learning about this militaristic society, and therefore kind of learning about our own society. Because at first we're excited about it, and we're like, oh, I look up to this general, I think he's super cool. And I think too, as the audience, where Titus always loses me, and not loses me as in I don't believe that he's a character, I don't believe he's a human, but where I go, Titus, you're lost, man, is at this point where he kills his son. Yeah.
And we get a few like glimpses with Anthony's performance. Yeah. With this, like he does seem a little unsure. He is like yelling at them, but also like you can feel like the guilt on his face a little bit. Like it's the nuances of a performance. Like if you want a masterclass, this is where you'll get it.
Masterclass. But honestly, like I think that for me is part of what made it clear that he is us. This little boy is us, and we are getting to kind of relearn about what it means to, or what we've been told it should mean, what it can mean to be masculine or exist as a man in this world, and or what war means and what that means for our world and what it can do to people, particularly men, but also women who can sometimes get caught up in the collateral damage.
Yeah. No, that's super real. Another thing I really like about how this all played out, and it's like it's so many points on top of each other that either they can compound and be that much more powerful because of how they relate to each other, or they can, if you mess up one or two, they can just all crumble and all be nothing.
I know. I think
sometimes I feel like it's an all or nothing.
I'm so glad you're seeing it, because it's like what I felt like with what I feel like a lot of times watching Shakespeare is it's like watching a high wire act. It's like, whoa,
I believe it.
Yeah.
I love how my point. And another thing about the line thing is, where's your line, and when will you know that it got crossed? Yeah. Is that he got confronted with 3 choices in this movie in the span of like 30 minutes. Yeah. And he, like, you probably a normal sensible person would argue that he failed 3 times. Like he got confronted with 3 tests and failed all 3 times. But my point is that it happened before he got a chance to process anything.
Yeah.
Like it just
Oof.
3, like imagine like
right in a row.
Like one would be like if your brother tries to, you know, if you're a part of a sibling of 3 and your brother tries to kill your sister, like what would you do? Like,
right.
You know, like obviously you would want to defend one, or like my point is like you got confronted with 3 like impossible tasks that put 2 of your biggest values in contention with each other,
yes.
and you have to choose which one you value more.
Right.
Because at some sense values are very linear, and they line up like triage if they're in conflict with each other. One thing you clearly value more than the other, and not everybody has such a conscious and solid grasp on which ones they have. Sometimes we think we have others, and then turns out we don't. And we, you know, and sometimes we haven't even considered the ones that we haven't been confronted with. So anyway, he just got 3 passing. It just flew by, and it was so big, and before you know it, he fucking killed his son. So it's like, it was fucking crazy, and just everything about this movie made it clear. So.
Man, so much of what you're saying right now is just hitting real hard for me in a great way. Like it's all very true. And I know I said this a minute ago, but the fact that you saw that,
no, I'm kidding.
no, the fact that you saw that in this film, and that it not only like reflected that for you, but also maybe clarified it in some ways, or like
it provided like a great example.
Yeah, like provided a great example. I think that's important.
Yeah,
it's nice to see our humanity and the things and our wisdoms reflected in art.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cathartic.
All right, so we get to the next scene, and again, with the same kind of throne room set design, it's a Great Gatsby party going on.
It is, and there's a pool.
There's a pool in the middle of like throne. It's like it's very immature. It's very like Great Gatsby. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
It's just like
Wolf of Wall Street kind of party.
Decadence to the point of extreme, and it's trying to say that this is bad. Like, these people are just
ridiculous.
Yeah. So again, something we recognize.
Yeah. One interesting thing, makeup-wise, was so in the first.
Oh
scene,
yeah, you mentioned it. I love it.
In the first scene where we have Tamara meet Alan Cumming or Saturninus, she's wearing this gold eyeliner and this like really badass looking streak across her eyes. I was like, I gotta take notes. And now in this party scene, she's wearing the gold eyeliner again in a slightly different way, and now he's also wearing, or not eyeliner, shadow. Oh my god, who do I think I am? Oh, I'm so not getting to sit at the popular table anymore. So now they're both wearing gold eyeshadow, just to kind of show that they're aligned with each other. It also kind of feels like his eyes are only for her, like his eyes are like locked into her now, and like that's all he's seeing or noticing is everything to do with her, which was really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, he was
like everything is eclipsed by her.
Yeah,
so subtle, so clear.
Yeah, it was like he already had like a lot of makeup on. He was very gothy and very like prissy.
Cares about appearance, cares about.
But like now he has a strip of gold eyeshadow above his, like it's very decadent, ridiculous kind of like he looks halfway to a drag queen kind of like amount of makeup.
Yeah, it just made me think of in Hunger Games, what is that center city called? Capital? The Capital.
The Capital.
Yeah, that makes sense. It reminds me of the Capital.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. The Capital of Great Gatsby, Wolf of Wall Street.
That concept is pretty clear.
Yeah.
And then in this whole party, which I imagine is the party of like their marriage and like them celebrating the union of their kingdoms now, outside sits Anthony Hopkins, presumably just kind of like regretting or like kind of like processing all of this shit that he just had to do.
Yeah.
And a few things are happening, like we also get introduced to a new character, and it's the Moor is what they end up calling him. Apparently, everyone tends a black character, he's just the Moor.
Because everyone's a racist piece of shit.
And I wasn't quite sure what his deal was, but I found out a few scenes in, and his costume choice helped me so much. Because I was like, we don't have any context. He's just like on the balcony looking at Anthony Hopkins, but he's dressed like he's like very dressed like he's dressed in kind of modern-ish clothing, like the textile quality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he has a bunch of tribal marks on his face. So it was a perfect blend of the old of the Goths, the wildlings, and the Romans.
Yeah.
So it was like Roman clothing, but like goth, like marking on his face, which and so it turns out he was like the right-hand man of the queen.
Yeah.
That now is a bodyguard or part of the Secret Service of the new, which was like a genius choice and just true. Just
to help us understand who he is, where he came from.
The best choices are obvious in retrospect.
Yeah.
I have believed that for a long time and I still believe it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's looking at, and so he's just kind of like, it shows like his kind of his cunning. He like has this very inquisitive look on his face, like, what should I do about this? Mm-hmm. And the queen comes to, now the queen, what's her name again?
Tamara.
Tamara comes beside him and is just like, what's up, bro? What you looking at? And he's like, check this out. And then Anthony Hopkins is there, and then now, because, so his sons had helped, God damn it, who's the brother of the king now? Bassianus and Lavinia escape.
Yes.
That's why Anthony killed one of them. So like they're theoretically exiled kind of now. Not really. They just escaped that day and they're gone.
They're gonna go get married now.
Yeah, like honestly,
that'll be settled.
Alan Cumming is like super fickle and he might have been forgot about it that day. Like he's just such a child.
Yeah.
But they came to find Anthony Hopkins in the night and they're like, Dad, like why'd you do that? Like they're like she come to kind of ask his favor because she's conflicted about like, this is the father that she looked at as Superman, and now he doesn't approve of her marriage, and she's like, the fuck, super clear, I totally get it, I'm there for it. And he's like, nah, I'm not having it. He's still not quite having it. But then also they get now confronted because they're technically in trouble from Tamara and
Alan Cumming.
Saturninus.
No, you're Saturninus. Fine. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. So between Tamara and Saturninus, and so they all kind of come out to the courtyard to confront them, and they basically, Alan Cumming is all pissed off at them. He's like,
and drunk, which is fun.
This is where I find out that like, oh, Lavinia is Sansa. She's Sansa when she got sold to the Boltons, and Tamara's Cersei.
Yes, because that's so it.
And so he's like, I don't want to marry you. No, I guess in this sense he's like Joffrey, but like he's like, I don't want to marry you, but you're mine. Like you can't marry anybody else,
right?
Especially not my brother. And then Tamara comes in with like her fake. She does this. This is the first time the fourth wall break happens, and it is awesome. It is so awesome. Tamara, and also I remember we were talking with Much Ado. You're like, would you just do a fourth wall break? Would you just talk to the audience?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it worked. I don't know if it worked here. And also, I love that most of the fourth wall breaks were like menacing.
Yeah.
And everything stopped, and it had this beautiful frame of like, because Tamara was like, she was whispering in his ear about like what to do about this
to Saturninus,
right? Because he was like, oh, you guys are mad, and like, but he's so like. He's very Joffrey
changeable.
in the way that like somebody could convince him of something as long as they framed it in a way that served his ego.
Yeah.
Like a
well
child.
Put. Yeah.
And she like whispers at him, and then the camera goes behind his shoulder. So then she just makes a quick turn and she just looks straight onto the camera and she's like, I hate these motherfuckers. They killed my firstborn son. They killed my whole culture. I'm gonna fucking get my revenge. And like that's basically what her whole, and it's like a good 30-second monologue.
Yeah.
And she is so menacing and it's great. And the music changes and it's wonderful.
I'm so happy because I suspect of myself that I'm not someone to just buy into Shakespeare shit just because it's Shakespeare shit, but I know you're not someone to buy into Shakespeare shit just because it's Shakespeare shit. So that means hypothetically that it really did work, and it worked for me too, and it's just great. I don't know, it just makes me feel like those theatrical conventions that it uses are, or at least can be, pretty transcendent of time. Like it's not just good because it's like, oh, and then in Shakespeare we'll do a soliloquy. It's good because she connects with us for a reason, because she's not going to tell Saturninus what she's up to. She's not going to tell Titus what she's up to.
No.
But it's more interesting for us as the audience. I can't remember what we watched, but it was something where, or there's a quote from someone who's talking about the bomb under the table in filmmaking. Like if we see the bomb under the
quote.
It's a Hitchcock quote about like having a bomb under the table, but if we see it, but the characters in the scene don't, they're just having a cup of tea or whatever, it creates tension for us as the audience.
Situational irony.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something that a soliloquy can do really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I get, And for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, I think for a good reason, like fourth wall breaks were kind of frowned upon because they were kind of, they can easily be, that's a tightrope walk for sure. Because a fourth wall break could be very jarring, not funny, it could be lazy. But I imagine that has to, you know, sometimes there are things that you, I don't know, want to convey that it's difficult to, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
Also, you know what it reminds me of?
I feel like I almost talked myself into trying to distill a rule base for fourth wall breaks, which I can't do right now. But sometimes it fucking works.
It reminds me of in musicals, the whole like quote unquote rule is if the feeling is too much that you can't even speak it anymore, then you have to burst into song. It reminds me of that. I don't know if I'm willing to say yet that should be the rule for soliloquies too, but it feels similar in some way.
I'm not ready right now We're
not making a rule today.
To say a rule for fourth wall breaks, but I know when it works and I know when I think it doesn't. So these ones were just super. They leaned really hard into it, and it was great.
Yeah, it was menacing as fuck.
It was great.
She's also fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I knew it from the first scene when she was like crying for her son. I was there. I mean,
she's the range on that character too is great.
Yeah.
Got to cry for your son and then be scary as fuck.
It's fucking revenge time.
It's revenge time.
So that was the first fourth wall break, and I was just like Julie, you're giving it all to me. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And then we get a soliloquy from the Moor, and I forgot his name.
Aaron.
It's such an easy name. How the fuck did I forget that? But they call him the Moor a lot too. And I was just very getting Othello vibes.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite follow it because he just talked to the camera. He wasn't talking to anybody, so I didn't have a lot of cues to like pick up on. I thought he was saying he hated everybody and he was going to bring everybody down, but apparently he was saying that he hates the king. Like he's pissed off at like he doesn't like that. Well, I mean that Tamara is married to this king. He's like, fuck this king. Like that's my goal is to fuck him up.
Bottom line, he does hate everyone, but he doesn't hate Tamara because they're fucking.
Yeah.
And because they love each other kind of in their weird fucked up way.
They're heathens.
Yeah.
They ain't civilized like us. No, I'm kidding.
You know nothing, Aaron.
So
that wasn't as funny as I wanted it to be. It's all right. It's all right. Well, I'll find a better one. So
Chloe living the plot away aside, we're moving on to so I was kind of a little bit unclear about that just because like I got lost in the language a bit, but later on I discovered that was what was going on.
That they're having sex.
No, that he doesn't hate the queen because
I
thought he was saying
for sure.
He's like because clearly he was the queen's like bodyguard, but he was like I thought he was saying fuck everybody. I'm gonna make everybody. Like that's my plot because like basically that's
kind of what he's saying.
We're in the part now where everybody's revealing their intentions, but like and so everyone wears them on their sleeve. But because the queen is plotting, sometimes I imagine it's hard. One because of the sheer amount of everything that's going on. Like the movie's still 2 hours and 45 minutes, and yet they have to set this up. So instead of having a whole nother scene, we could just have her break the fourth wall real quick and be like, "I'm a double agent." You know. So that's fair, even logistically. And I thought he was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I just misread some of it. Anyway.
I think that's fine though. I think that's not on you. I think he's kind of generally being like everyone fucking sucks and I hate them, and I don't think we necessarily need to know at that moment that he doesn't mean the queen. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, because like, again, like
I don't think that's
I rely on a lot of things besides the language to get everything. So if there's ever somebody who's just trying to convey stuff through just words, that's where I have to pay attention the most, and that's where I'm most likely to miss stuff. So anyway,
I don't quite buy that, but anyway.
Now we're saying I'm talking about just for me personally, not in general. All right. Now we get the queen Tamara, the new queen, adjusting to royal life, and we get introduced to her sons. Yeah. And I don't get their names, and their names really don't matter. No. I just ended up calling them the Incest Twins.
They really are.
So they are if the king is Ramsay Bolton, these two dudes are Ramsay Bolton's dogs. Yes. They are feral beasts that just want nothing but the next pleasure, and they're fucking vindictive and evil. And they're playing it good. Like, I know the character is like one-dimensional, but I mean, sometimes that's an element in your story. Yeah. And if we're going to do it, play it to the extreme so we hate them. Yes. And we know to be scared, and the tension can just emanate from them whenever they're in a scene. Yeah. And they do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
Do a great job. I hate them.
Yeah, I hate them so much.
I hate them.
They suck. They're the worst. I wish I could hit them.
So they're like they're talking about, but and this is another like thing like, oh, again, like, 'cause I'm also noticing where I would have missed what's going on if I would have tried to pay attention to another production that wasn't as clear, because they're saying a bunch of shit that they don't mean. They're saying like, I love Lavinia, and now they're trying to vie for Lavinia's like affections, because they're like, oh, she's fair game and she's just like a hot piece of ass that I want to fuck and maybe marry.
I mean,
maybe not,
you know,
maybe kill. But if
Caesar wanted her, she also must be like hot
exactly.
or whatever.
But so like I may have cued into the fact that they were literally saying I love Lavinia like it's some kind of weird love triangle now, and I may have like misread that and then had to reevaluate it later when I found out that it wasn't true, and it would have just been another level of complexity that I had to like decode, as opposed to just consuming the raw play and liking it.
Yeah, it's the difference between I love Lavinia and I love Lavinia.
Yeah, they were just acting.
No, I love her.
Exactly. They were just petulant children
or animals. Two things that I think are really interesting. So in this scene, one thing I noticed, and I won't say why this is really cool, but I noticed them snacking a lot on various like meats and things that were like pieces of a statue shaped like a person in this scene, and I thought that was really interesting.
I think I missed that.
Yeah, I know, and that was what was cool about it, because for me, as someone who knows the story, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And for you, as someone who doesn't, you wouldn't have picked up on it. So it was the perfect line of foreshadowing.
Honestly, I'm surprised that they did anything subtle, because nothing else they did was subtle.
I mean, but like
all.
looking back on it, if you know that, it's not subtle. But because you don't know that context, it's
well, I mean, I guess it was subtle enough then. I mean, like, conceivably, when someone's watching your movie, you know, like, most people are watching it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it's a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm saying Easter egg implies subtle.
And it's because it's not just I don't know. It was good symbolism and not justification, but like it was clearly equating their decadence and like desire to eat and consume everything in the world with
feral beasts,
with kind of a
leopard
sort
clothes.
of fucked up justice that happens later. And then the other thing was, I really liked the choices they made in this one. Obviously, I think it's close to the perfect production of Titus. But there's another different choice that I also think is super valid that I want to share. So I saw a production in Chicago, when was it? Earlier this year, actually, where Chiron and Demetrius, the feral sons, the first scene we get introduced.
Incest Twins is their actual name.
Twins. Their real name is Incest Twins. Metal band Incest Twins. Were also in Game of Thrones, but they're fighting in this first scene literally with sticks over Lavinia, like, you know, still the same childlike idiocy. But it also drew a really interesting line. Like, I liked the snacks because the snacks drew an interesting line too. But this drew an interesting line because then when they get the swords later from Titus, they're super excited, and it also makes us as the audience, having seen them almost like kill each other with these sticks earlier, just quote unquote play fighting. Now that they have swords, we're like, oh no, who gave them swords? Like, this is so bad. That was another really cool setup that I thought was a valid choice that I liked. Yeah. So,
Word.
Yeah, just pinging things that I'm like, oh, that worked. This works. We like drawing lines. We like symbolism. We like through lines.
Yeah, word. They're playing these characters like to the extreme. Like, they are just demented and really disturbed, and they're all about. They're wearing leather. They're wearing like, you know, like leopard skin stuff. Just is like just the most gaudy, awful, trash '90s clothing.
Major shout out.
And so
it was
like
great.
And so they're like, you know, in the throne room.
Great in that it was terrible.
They're appreciating this like new decadence that they're getting, you know, right after they thought they were about to be killed like their older brother. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, oh, fucking life's great. I love Lavinia. I'm gonna fuck everything I see. Oh, hey. And they start like fucking dry humping each other. And like the actors are like, man, God bless them, because they like really take that play sex to the extreme. Like,
they went
like,
for it, man.
Buries his face in his gooch like above the clothing. But Jesus Christ, I hope they got extra paid for that day.
A bonus. Like a stunt adjustment, but slightly different.
So that's when they got dubbed the Incest Twins.
Yeah. That was the time.
Again, I wrote like the sets. Like, they're literally in this like huge, like ridiculously big swing. Which is like this playing as like a bed, like if a hammock times 10, and like also covered in like animal fur. It's like these elaborate sets. This door was like this weird kind of huge dungeon, kind of not dungeon, but like this weird like medieval design kind of thing. It was great. Everything about that.
And it's also all kind of the opposite of Titus, who's all about rules, do the thing that is right based on the rules. We have order. We have, like, I imagine that the things Titus has are like a wrench and a vacuum and things like that. And would never imagine, like, I feel like if he saw that swing bed, he'd be like, well, why did you not just put 4 posts on the ground? And
yeah, you just need a cot.
Yes.
On Battlefield, we have a cot and it works just fine.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Then
this is not different.
And then we know that the queen is going to plot. We know that Aaron is also going to plot, and we just basically we have these 2 worlds are meeting, and they're meeting by every event and every day. They're just having to do things together. So then we have the new scene. It took me a second to understand what that was happening, but it was a great opening scene. They're hunting, and like they have a bunch of royals on horses, and they all have dogs. But I'm like, why is everybody in the woods all of a sudden? They're all hunting. They're all like royally hunting.
Yeah.
They bring a bunch of dogs, and I imagine that's what royal people did for fun. That's what rich people did for fun.
Yeah.
And then we have the Moor, who's Aaron, and now he has his fourth wall break. And he like talks to the camera, and he's like, I hate, like he basically just lays out his plan. And it's very, it's very like I could see this happening on stage. Like, I want to do this. I'm going to bury this gold so I can say this is happening. And I'm going to like, when they come, I'm going to do this. And he's like, this is what I'm going to do. So the audience has the situational irony of like, we know what he's doing, but nobody else does.
We know he's in control of the situation, but they think that they're all so smart and they've got their own agendas, but he's just...
There's a shitload of stuff that's about to happen.
He's in charge.
There's a shitload of stuff that's about to happen that could easily be confusing on stage.
Yeah.
And I honestly confused me for a second, like during the movie.
I think part of it, too, is a little bit mysterious at the beginning. So he goes, you might think I'm a fool to bury a bag of gold under a tree that I'll never get back. But this will lead to a very fantastic piece of villainy.
And that's fair.
And part of that is so that we know, like, something's going down and you're in charge of what's going down, but we don't really know how it's going to play out. Because then, as it's playing out, we're like, oh no. Like, we can follow along with it with the characters in the sense of, like, we don't know what's going to happen next. But at the same time, we know it's going to be bad.
There's so much that they have to do so quickly. And the movie's still 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, there's just... Shakespeare made it was a very hell of a feat to portray all of this in less than 3 hours.
That's why it's so hard. That's why there are so many times that you know, we watch some of these movies that are having trouble and aren't hitting all these marks, and like they keep missing stuff.
Yeah.
It's not because they're stupid. It's not because they're bad storytellers. It's because it's a marathon.
Level of difficulty is a ton.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll be like, well, this was in the play, so we got to make this happen. But this is what I didn't see what was going on here. And this wasn't important to me. Or they feel like they can only do it with like maybe a half hour more screen time, and the movie's already 3 hours. So they're like, we'll just make it a couple things and we'll happen. I'm like, in my opinion, you might as well fucking cut it.
Yeah.
Unless it informed something that the other character chose later.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times it does. So it's like,
it's not necessarily about having more stage time or making sure you don't cut a single line. It's about making sure that everything you do is really clear. Everything that is told to the audience, even if we choose not to include some things, if we don't include those things, we need to make sure that what is left still makes sense. And whatever we do, whether we cut or not, we should probably cut because it's long. We need to make sure that everything that happens is clear, like why it's happening.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, again,
and that seems like it should be really straightforward, but it's hard. Storytelling is hard.
When the rubber meets the road and you're actually trying to like figure out what lines to cut and how to have to block your actors, like it becomes suddenly pretty hard. Yeah,
and if you're a filmmaker, like who to shoot and how how it's gonna be funny or how it's gonna be violent or how it's gonna be suspenseful.
And there's 1,000 other things to do when you're filming. And
do we have the sound?
Honestly, yeah, I would distill if it was me, I would distill the play into just motivations and what I thought was going to happen, and then I would cut based on that or consolidate based on that. Like if a person if the play had these 4 scenes that got this character to this place, I would see if I can get them there in less scenes. And if I had to add lines or cut lines, but like show it visually, I would do that.
Yeah.
As
long as it gets across.
At the end of the day, it's got to be good and like not that that's a terrible maxim because it's so vague.
At the end of the day, it has to be good.
At the end of the day, it's got to, like, we're all here. Like if I don't know how to do it, and that's another thing, like accommodating for my inability to, like, maybe do it as it was and being a historical purist. Like, if I want the production to be successful, and by successful I mean get across to the audience to where people are genuinely entertained by it.
Yeah.
Like, then I would have to be the filter through which Shakespeare has to pass.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the filter, I can't just, like, let stuff pass that I don't know what's happening. I have to know what's happening.
Yes.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where my loyalties lie when it comes to doing something like this.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm not a historical purist. That's just what I think needs to happen.
Paul,
and I know I'm not perfect, but, like, that's I feel like if we're triaging what has to happen, that's where I would have to stop it.
Yeah, why would we tell a story for the sake of historical purity unless it's for the sake of a museum?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I imagine there's probably a book of arguments about this topic.
Yeah, but what we're trying to do, and maybe this is part of what we need to define as either a podcast or for whoever's listening as artists. Like, what is the purpose of us telling the story? Is it just straight up for entertainment? Is it for the thematic elements? Is it to be a museum piece? And I think maybe that's something that I think will inform a lot of what we do. I think for me, what I know is I even think it's like, I don't want it to be a museum piece.
I mean, I don't want to get stuck on this, but there's a lot to unpack about that. I understand the spirit of what you're saying, that you don't want it to be a museum piece, but even museum pieces, some are not necessarily meant to be a museum piece in the way you're saying it.
Yeah.
You're talking about it like this alien, otherworldly, like, thing that can't be touched, as like as opposed to Shakespeare, which is alive and needs to get, like, adapted and stuff like that. But museum pieces are supposed to, like, connect to us, and, like, I think in their
sure, like, are you saying even if something's in a museum,
exactly,
like it has to be
it's prime,
digestible,
it's prime perfect world
it's curated
purpose, exactly,
yeah,
is supposed to connect to us. So that's why I guess I'm accommodating for the very small percentage you might have objected to the fact that you're like museum piece.
Yeah, but curators all over the world are gonna be like, no, Cairo's gonna kill me.
I agree with the sentiment you're saying, but I mean, like, even then, that's my point. There's a ton to unpack, and I'm not sure we could do it in one or maybe even the entire podcast.
Yeah, there's definitely not. I think the spirit of what I'm talking about in terms of, like, it's I'll define it as this. I don't think that we should do Shakespeare for the sake of being historically accurate to what he would have done at the time, because it's not gonna get across to us in the way that will connect at the deep level that he was looking for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It creates barriers that we don't need.
It's so funny how that, because I'm an outsider, and in some ways, probably in your mind too, like, I'm not indoctrinated into some, like, ways of thought about Shakespeare that maybe some people, I feel like there's the other side to that argument where people would be like, yes, we do need to do that, which is making you feel like you need to make this argument. But because I haven't heard these, I'm just like, yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah, and I think the important distinction too is we need to be aware of those things. Like, it helps that I'm aware that, you know, that the Globe was, the name of the theater was the Globe, for instance. So, or that it was made in the shape of a circle, basically, and was made out of wood. So that when a character in a play says this wooden O, it's because it's site specific. They're talking about the world, but they're also talking about the theater.
Funny.
So it's kind of a fourth wall break, and it doesn't mean we necessarily need to translate it or whatever, but it does speak to the spirit of the piece or the spirit of the line. So it tells us we are breaking the fourth wall a little bit. We are winking at you. Mm-hmm. So if I have my Tamara turn to the camera, that can work. Like and I'm not saying those things are one-to-one, but I am saying, like, we can interpret the tone of the piece or the idea of it by knowing the historical context, but that doesn't mean we need to play it in the same way as they would have historically.
Yeah, just like you need to translate that. I think themes update, and I think all kinds of things update. Like maybe themes is pretty fundamental, maybe not necessarily, but like the other more abstract elements of a play also need to update it. We're gonna beat this dead horse anyway. So but like Yeah.
Die, horse! I know you're dead.
It's an important one.
Die!
We'll probably say it
I would
1,000 times more.
I would never hurt a horse. Never.
Okay, so they're all hunting now, and then we have Aaron's like, I'm about to fuck shit up. Hey, I'm telling you, audience, you can know when I'm doing it. And then there's a lot of moving parts here, so bear with me. And then so Tamara immediately meets him in the woods, and she's like wearing this bright red fucking suit, and it is sexy time. They're fucking like animals, and so like they have this whole like conversation of them like dry humping each other.
Yeah.
And
good times.
And it's super sexy time, and they're like plotting, and he's like, they're gonna see us, like, fucking shut out. And she's like, I don't care, take me now. and then they get stumbled upon. Of course they do, because they're all
and she's wearing red.
They're all out there looking for animals, so they're all like on alert for stuff. And she's wearing red, in this like brown and green forest. And then they get stumbled upon by Lavinia and Bossanova. Frankenstein?
Yes.
What's his name?
I'm not going to tell you.
I'm just gonna keep
I like Bossa Nova.
Boston Market?
Boston Market.
What's his name?
Bassianus. I like Boston Market.
Bassianus and Slovenia.
Lavinia?
Lavinia, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to do this the whole time now. This is my new favorite game. They stumble upon Tamara and Aaron, and they're like, oh, well, this is great. Now she's cheating on him, and now we have something to tell on you about, and now we have a bargaining chip.
Yeah, and they basically go, ha ha.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Basically, like, and it's very funny because they're like they're out in the middle of the woods where anyone can see anybody at any moment, but also like nobody's around, so none of the rules apply.
Like what you like?
Yeah, it's like it's very funny.
I'm sorry, as you like it?
I feel like out in the woods is such like an easy way to just like move the plot where you need to move it. Like,
it really is.
Like it's a way for you to rearrange pieces on the board.
Chaos!
And then bring it back.
Midsummer Night's Dream?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Middle of the woods.
Yeah.
So
the symbolism is super clear and helpful.
Yeah.
I think.
So they see her about to fuck them more, and they're like, oh shit, well, now we can tell on you and you'll be in trouble, and now we won't, so then we can go free to be in love. It's still really weird though. Not weird, but like they're kind of half in trouble. They're kind of trouble, but they still went on
they like have less clout now.
Royal hunting.
Yeah,
thing.
they got married in secret, so like they're fine now. Yeah, it's whatever.
As long as they like stay.
They're less favored.
As long as they stay out of the eye line of Saturninus, then they're kind of half safe.
It's all good.
So the queen, they see the queen, and they're like, oh, we're gonna tell on you, and then like suddenly her sons come out, and they're like, oh shit, now there's more of them. So and it dawns on them they can kill us, and so the sons kill Bassianus, and they're
Boston Market. No,
they kill
the mashed potatoes.
They take all the mashed potatoes out of the Boston Market.
It's really sad. I wanted some mashed potatoes.
And they kind of just abduct Lavinia, and they're like, no, we have plans for her. Like I thought they were gonna use her as like a bargaining chip, but anyway. Bassianus is fucking dead as shit.
He's real dead.
And then they're like, you more. Get rid of him before anybody else comes upon us. And, okay, so, oh, shit. I forgot about the other scene that we missed, that we went back.
What scene? Let's talk about it.
I don't want to miss too much, but like, or does it not happen yet? Maybe it doesn't happen yet. Oh, yeah. It doesn't happen yet. Sorry.
Great.
Yeah.
We missed nothing. We're perfect. We're amazing.
Perfect. So
Paul Stafford.
So
I don't know why I did that.
This sounded like it was a good song.
Paul Stafford.
So they're like, all right, you kill Bassianus, drag Lavinia away and rape her. They're like,
wait, it's not what happens. The sons are like, we want to rape Lavinia. The mom's like,
no, but then she goes to plead. She was like, she goes to plead with the queen, and she's like, if you don't know how to be civil, but I'll show you. I'll teach you how to be civil, whatever. And he's like, my sons will have their lust from you first.
Right. She like kind of is like hesitant for a second, but she's like, well, no, they get their fee, which is so fucked up. But so it was Aaron's idea originally in the Incest Twins scene. He was like, you guys should rape her. And they're like, yeah, creepy. And then in this scene now, they're like, Mom, we're going to do this. And she's like, yeah, you get your fee. Ha. And
so they do, she does say go rape her.
Yeah, but at first she's like, I don't know. But I'm just saying it wasn't her idea.
Yeah. I mean, sure. And
I'm not saying that makes her better.
I mean,
I'm just trying to be clear about
I-
where that came from and
I mean,
how that line is.
fair enough. To my eyes, it's such a, if I'm taking like a macro view of the story, it's kind of inconsequential because the conceit and like the conclusion of that scene is that they're dragging her away to go rape her as we jump to another scene.
Yeah, super fucked up.
Yeah.
To me, it's just interesting because it's like, you know, it's a woman pleading to another woman, don't let these men rape me. And, you know, at first there's a moment where, it was really well played too in that scene because I've seen it where like Tamara feels so bad that I don't believe her that she's actually gonna like say, yeah, go do it. And then I've also seen it played where it's like she doesn't care at all, which doesn't feel like she's as three-dimensional. And I liked it because it felt like she had a moment of like, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. Like maybe that's not her line.
She mentions like her son too.
Right,
like you didn't give my son any fucking quarter.
Exactly. So Lavinia brings up something. I can't remember if it's like show me mercy because of my family or my father, or if it's like show me mercy because you wanted your son to have mercy. It's something like that. And she's not even saying let me go. She's saying don't let them rape me. Just kill me.
Yeah, she did.
Which is also super fucked up.
Yeah.
This is a dark play at times. At times, what am I saying? It's a dark play.
I mean, yeah.
And it clearly in this iteration of this scene, it was that mentioning that reminded her of her son getting killed that made her pushed her to that point where she said, I would not deny my sons their fee.
Yeah, like she almost had like a moment of empathy or like a mercy.
Right.
And then she remembered that nobody gave me mercy and I was pleading and I was not a threat and they still said fuck it. So,
and it's in the writing, but it was really clear in the playing of this scene, which was awesome.
It was good. So, yeah.
They saw it. I felt seen. I bet Shakespeare felt seen. It was great. They're
still all there, but they're all, the conceit of it was that they're all hunting and they drag her away and then they go to the next scene. Oh yeah. So the sons of Titus as well as Titus are all part of this like, you know, royal hunting party. I imagine mostly as like guards as opposed to like getting to enjoy hunting.
Right.
And the more comes to them and he's like, I told you this is going to be confusing. More comes to them and he's like, guys, something's happened. Follow me. And then the Moore's running and then like they lose him, I think. He like loses them as they're running. And then one of the sons is running.
Are you talking about the sons with them?
Yeah.
Oh, Titus's sons.
Yeah, Titus's sons.
So
Sorry.
Aaron is with two of Titus's sons. Two of Titus's remaining sons.
Yeah, exactly.
I must
Out
also
of the
say.
probably 8 he had, that 6 of them are dead.
Yeah.
Oh no, well no.
There are a lot of sons.
There's 3 sons left.
There's 3 left. He's got 2 of them.
Yeah, so 2 of them are in this shot.
So what he says to them, he says, I saw the tiger. It's this way. It's sleeping. It's sleeping in its lair.
I was wondering what he was telling them to go see.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, tigers?
Yeah, which is also so incongruous time and place wise.
There's tigers in Rome. I guess Rome like had tigers,
but it's funny.
But they took them from other places. There's not like tigers in the wild.
Right, and it's funny because that's in the text too. Like, so it's almost like the text is already setting us up for being kind of incongruous, and sometimes people change it. They're like, it's not a tiger now; it's a whatever is in
the capital. Like there were animals that were exotic and taken from faraway places and brought. Maybe there were some tigers roaming around Rome. Yeah,
it seems unlikely.
Yeah,
so that just makes it feel even more time and place ambiguous, which is interesting.
It's really it wasn't like woven into the story. It was just meant for this one plot point.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
Because like it's literally here for like 2 scenes and then it's gone. But like for the point, it was like, okay, here's a tiger, come on, and he runs and they're following him. But then like he like loses them because he's like apparently he's like way faster. He's Usain Bolt, and he like gets out of there. And then one of the sons, we see him running, and then he falls into a tiger trap. And then what we find out is that that's the same tiger trap that Bassianus got thrown in. That's where his body got dumped. So
by Aaron.
So it didn't occur to me till like after the movie that I thought Aaron was helping them to dump him, but Aaron knew where he was leading him, or was it an accident? Was Aaron just?
Aaron intentionally leads them past the pit so that he can fall in the pit.
So Aaron is trying to. He's the Joker. Then he's trying to fuck up everything.
Yes. Kind of, but he has a specific plan. He's specifically trying to frame them for the murder of Bassianus.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because that's the next scene. I'm sorry. I was confused for no reason.
But it does make sense that it was confusing because it is confusing in the text.
It's kind of convoluted. If that's your plan to do that.
But it's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart. And once we get to the point, and I'm sure that like, and because as soon as I said that too, you were like, oh yeah, because they frame him for murder. But as you're going through it, you're in your mind, you're like, where is this going?
Exactly. I forgot. It
because you know he has a plan, but you don't know what it is, which also just makes him look smarter because we don't know where he's going with it either.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, and the way it works out is fair enough. So then the brother comes down there and he like with the dead body of Bastianus, and then he's like. Then the other brother comes in and tries to pull him out, but actually gets pulled in himself.
Which is funny. So, there's actually
it's that part is very like hijinksy and like
it is.
I don't quite buy it for like okay, so out of like nowhere there's suddenly two brothers down in like 5 seconds.
No, I think it's funny because I feel like this is maybe one thing that I almost wish that because Julie Taymor in this is just weaving back and forth between different tones. Like you've got especially the
I laughed at that part. It was kind of funny.
I know, and there's a whole exchange.
I don't think it was trying to be funny, though.
No, it is because there's a whole exchange that they cut. That's all about like, well, you should come up to me. It's like I can't, and like I'll help you up. I can't pull you. Like it's just like almost farcical of them going back and forth. And then the last line is always like, you cannot come to me. You cannot come to me as he's like trying to pull him up or he's so stupid he jumps in, but I don't like that. But like he's trying to pull him up. So as he falls in, he goes, "I come to thee." It's like it's funny. It's farcical.
I see.
And I know that Julie could have done it. I know she could have done it. My guess is that they ran out of time in this movie. They were like, "This is 3 hours."
Maybe
long.
it just didn't work in the edit the way.
Right.
Maybe everybody was dying on set. But
right.
Like,
maybe it was like a day in the woods.
It did have like I said, it was almost like I got that there was the funny like element to it.
Yes.
Because like it was ridiculous.
It's hijinksy.
That suddenly from like 2 guys, they have one guy falling in and another guy getting pulled in, trying to pull the other guy up.
Yeah.
2 trained soldiers.
Yes.
It was pretty funny, and they were basically nameless brothers anyway. Like as far as the audience is concerned.
Yeah. With the sons of Titus, they're important, but in so much as they're important to Titus.
Exactly.
I don't know all of their names, and I've played one of them.
So anyway, the dispensable brothers get pulled into the the expendable brothers get pulled into the tiger trap.
That sounds like a superhero team, but a sad one. The Expendable Brothers.
The Expendables is a superhero team.
Well, maybe that's why it sounds like one.
And then
it's a sad superhero team name.
And so now they are both in there with the body of Bastianus. They recognize
Market.
So they recognize those mashed potatoes. And they're like trying to tell everybody, like, Bastianus is down here. Somebody killed him. But they're like, and then basically, predictably, Aaron is just like, yeah, you're down with him, there with him, with the dead body. You killed him. And like, as if they would be so stupid to get stuck down there with the dead body.
With the body they just killed.
But
there's also a letter.
Yes. What's the letter situation again?
So what happens with the letter is Tamara shows up with the letter. So she was also clearly in on this fucking ploy.
Like nobody seems to. Nobody in Shakespeare plays. Everybody seems to forget conflict of interest.
What do you mean?
They seem to forget, like, who the person is telling them and who they're telling them about. I don't
think that's true.
As if conflict of interest is not a thing.
I mean, I feel like. I feel like it's totally set up.
I might be making too blanket of a statement right there.
I mean, I feel like the alliance between Aaron and Tamara would not necessarily be clear to anybody outside, and I think it's because of the racism partially, and I think that is ironically to their advantage, at least in terms of sneaking around. It's not to their advantage in any other way, but in terms of like we're gonna sneak around. Like the
racism part does come up later.
It does come up later in a clear way.
It's uncomfortable.
It hurts. So I think Saturninus wouldn't assume that they're working together. So if Tamara finds one thing and Aaron finds another,
confirms it. He's like, well, one's white and one's black. They have no reason to be on the same team, so I believe it.
Exactly.
That's fair enough. I'll stand convinced because of the rhetoric about like black, the word black and the color black is okay. So immediately after that, they're like, within like 20 seconds, the trial of
and
the
also,
of
here's
Titus'
the other thing
sons.
too. I'm so sorry. I just before we get there, Saturninus has reason to be against the Andronici.
Yeah, he does. I guess he does do that too in the beginning of the play. After all of Titus's sons abscond with Lavinia and Boston Market, he's like, well, like he considers a family unit to be like one thing, and he's like, you guys are all traitors. Like, you're still technically a general. I'm not gonna fire you because I don't know what to do because I'm a boy, but I now distrust all of you.
Yeah.
So I feel that. Fair enough. You're right. It was set up. I take it back. That was just my inability to hold that many things in my head.
There's a lot of things. And it's not even hot. It's like, I totally get that. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. So, that's fair.
Maybe it's... Yeah, anyway, sorry.
So, within 20 seconds, the son's trial and execution is determined. Like, it's like, they're...
Yeah.
But you guys killed him. And he does have like some like feigned like newfound like love for his brother that's dead. Like, before he was like, fuck my brother, I hate him. But that's also really true. Like, someone who's immature, they'd be like, fuck you, I hate you. But if they actually die, they'd be sad.
Yeah.
And so he was very sad for his brother's death. So like it does ring true with like the immaturity and like impulsiveness of that character.
Yes.
Alan Cumming, you're killing it.
We love
goddamn
Alan.
emo Nazi. Before all that happens, Titus kind of like begs for them. He's like whoa. Like, because like when the Queen and Aaron like both say like they did it, and then like he immediately is just like, fuck it, let's kill him. And he's like,
yeah.
He's like, whoa, calm down. Like, if we have a trial and they're actually proved to be guilty, then let's do it. And he's like, you know, he kind of like backtracks a little bit, but he's like, not really. And then like, and he still decides it like in the next minute. And so now Titus Titus doesn't believe they got even proved guilty. Like, he is inclined to believe them, and he like also loves his sons, but he doesn't like believe they got a fair trial. And so now he's again confronted with, is this your line? Like, are you willing to act against your oaths and the rules to save the lives of your sons, which you supposedly love? And I think I did skip a scene, but it's okay because it's relevant right now, and I can just sum it up real quick.
Hit me.
After he killed the first son, they reconvene in like the tombs, under the city, where the sons want, like, they still, like, again, their dad killed their brother, but they have such reverence for their dad, who is like the general of all these armies, which I totally
and they're
believe.
all soldiers in the army too.
Exactly. So they are trained to, and also like for real reasons, respect and revere their father.
Absolutely.
And so they're trying to ask their father's permission to bury the dead son in the grave of the family plot.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, fuck that. I'm disowning him. I disown all of you for disobeying the rules once.
Yep.
For like a cause that you believe in, like not even considering any of that. And then like the conceit of the ending of that conversation is like, fine, you can fucking bury him, after they plead so heavily. It's like, but also fuck you guys. And he like walks away.
Yeah. And
the uncle sees it too, and the uncle's like, doesn't know really what to do and where to stand.
Yeah, we haven't talked too much about Marcus, but he's like, you know,
he's a senator.
He's a senator. He's got a powerful stake in politics, but clearly is also very humble and kind, and just one of the
loves the brother, loves
one of the
Andronici.
Sons. Yeah,
loves Titus. Like, is a fairly just and reasonable person.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
I think if there's anyone in this play that I feel like he's probably no, actually he's not. I don't know. I like him as a character. Whenever I watch this play, I'm always like, I feel like Marcus is on the right track.
I agree. He's a little bit of a light. Okay, so now we go to the scene where they're basically, are they holding the trial? Because they're not holding the execution just yet.
It's the trial.
It's the trial. So they're holding the formal trial, but like it seems like the trial is a sham, and that everybody knows they're going to get like guilty and executed. So
I'm assuming they're on the way to the trial.
Yeah, because like I think they say something. They only say that it's not the execution because later on in the movie they still haven't died yet, and and he has a chance to save them.
Right.
So it must be the trial, but they're cutting to some gathering that feels like a funeral, and we don't actually see the gathering. But this is like the most beautiful scene in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Maybe second, but it's like it's one of this one or another one.
Yeah.
And this is at the end of the scene is where Chloe broke down and cried. Titus is walking past and walking in the opposite direction of all of these faceless seemingly politicians or powerful people of Rome
Senators.
and senators and like people who will ultimately be a part of the decision of his son's fate,
Yeah.
the condemnation of his sons.
I think he's more even standing still, and they're walking past him.
No, he's walking, but they're walking in the opposite
directions.
Yeah.
Is the important thing.
Exactly, and so that's the imagery of him. What we stay on him is all these faceless bodies walk past him. We just see the back of their heads, and he has this huge speech and yelling and just like for no one to hear. It's physically happening in the world, but it's largely symbolic. It's like it's so stark that it's symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, this is what I've is this what all my protection has been worth? Have you sleep in your bed, your warm beds at home while I'm off fighting your wars and
My
I'm
cold nights I've spent.
all those things. Yeah, like, and I don't know any of the words, but I mean it all came across. And I'm like almost in tears. It's like it's so sad. I don't know. It's a deep cut. This is kind of a weird reference.
This is a good reference.
It's the kind of good reference. But if anyone ever listens to the artist Ben Folds, he has a song called Fred Jones Part 2. And it's about a guy working at the paper for 25 years and he's getting laid off. And that's exactly what this scene feels like. I feel like that could have been the soundtrack to this scene. Maybe not.
What's that line? I'm sorry,
know.
Mr. Jones.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, but it's time.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
Like what they say to him as he's getting laid off.
Like, this is the way of the world. Like, you know, you can like spend your whole life, you know, for this cause or for this, you know, establishment or for this illusion,
for this justice,
this illusion of a system. Like, you know, a company doesn't really exist. That's an illusion.
Yeah.
But then you can still get laid off when the company is on hard times.
Right. He's working for and it's funny. I'm thinking about Gladiator too because they're talking about like the concept of Rome, literally, and across both these movies. But
Rome's an illusion.
Right. Like he's been working for Rome his entire life. He's an old man and he has given his whole life to the concept of Rome because that concept is infused with, if I follow the rules, if my sons follow the rules, if we all follow the rules, we will have justice.
Exactly. But there is no Rome. There is just selfish individuals leading it.
Yes.
So
that is destroying his family.
And that's the heart. Literally and figuratively, it is eroding his identity that he's built around it.
Yeah, and that's part of why.
And it takes him half the play to figure it out.
Right, and that's part of why I think he, at least up till this point in his own mind, could justify killing his own son because his son didn't follow the rules. But these sons did follow the rules and are still getting destroyed, and that's what's too much.
Yeah.
That's and I think too he's at this point he's still kind of bargaining. He's still kind of trying to plead with this country, with this empire, with these people that are this empire not to do this cuz maybe it can still be stopped and maybe if I just show them and tell and remind them all that I've done for this justice, maybe they'll realize that the justice is real and it's not real.
No, he thought that every battle he won, every time he, you know, every war he fought, he thought he was like investing in this currency of reverence.
He thought it earned him justice.
And he's finding out that it was monopoly money.
Yeah.
What it all comes to mean when, you know, when selfish individuals like actually are given the choice. So like, again, yeah, I'm not really saying anything new. We're saying the same thing over and over. But, like, that's what he's finding out in this scene. And the blocking and the imagery and the cinematography is beautiful. And it gets this point across so well. Like, and so he ends this scene and he's, like, finishes the speech. And it's him. It's his last remaining son that's not about to get condemned to death. It's his brother. And it's his daughter, Lavinia, which we find out has been tortured so much by the Incest Twins that they cut out her tongue because we find her at the end of the hunt. I'm sorry, I missed that scene, but I mean, like, her uncle finds her and he brings her to him. So it's
which I think is another thing that makes me just curious about Marcus and who he is and how he reacts to things.
Yeah. So he found her after being tortured and he doesn't know who did it, but he just found her. But like, anyway, so she is now in this scene. Like, I know I skipped over it, but I don't
So
think
I
I don't think the granular specifics of the scene are, like, incredibly...
I think just knowing what happens to her is important. So she gets her tongue cut out.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, she gets her tongue cut out, and she gets her hands cut off, and she gets branches
in this version,
in this version, she gets branches shoved into the wrist opening where her hands got cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So she has these, like, really weird, like, wicker kind of stick hands.
Yeah, it's almost like Edward Scissorhands kind of thing, and it clearly the choice made so much sense to me because it's clearly something that these fucking animals would do to her after raping her and like after all this, just for their own sick, twisted pleasure. And it also, like, just to see the like not only the lack of something but something disturbing being in its place and something and feeling so warped and it's painful just in the imagery of it. And so Marcus shows up to this place with there's one more thing too.
There's actually a few more things.
There's so many I mean, just every piece of this scene,
so
visually,
it's hard to
acting, everything is perfect. But I mean, perfect's a strong word, but it's damn close. And even as those senators are walking by at the beginning of this scene, at one point Titus falls all the way to the ground, and the wagons are rolling over him.
And he's screaming into the ground,
including the chained up, hung up bodies of his two sons. Like not as in they're dead, but as in their arms are chained above their heads, and they're shirtless. They're so vulnerable and clearly just susceptible to this system that in a way he has helped build because he was trying to protect them, but now it's turned against them because of something so unfathomable to Titus.
And so he has this, honestly, like, this, it gets really surreal for a second, and we have these, like, weird angel horns that start getting blowing, and you see this angel blowing this like just like one note horn situation, and then it has like a lamb on an altar table, and then it says the face of his son, like his son is the sacrificial lamb,
which is like that scene in the story in the Bible with Abraham and his son Isaac, where he takes him up the mountain and is like gonna kill him for God, because that's what Abraham believes in,
and that's what Titus did.
Yes, and felt like his son was a sacrificial lamb, but then at the last second God's like, no, sacrifice a literal lamb instead, and blah blah blah. But you know, so he literally sacrificed his son on the altar of government.
I guess,
Man.
So is God government in this, or is
kind of?
And is God a sham in this? Because government's a sham. Is that what Shakespeare's trying to tell us?
I think Shakespeare's trying to say government is bad. No, that's not what he's trying to say.
Get out of here.
But he's I think. I don't know. I think it's more about extremes than anything
I'm not
else.
really trying to get into
I know. I just wanted to sneak that pun in there. So.
But so anyway, so as they gather again, all those four. So there's something that happens right as they gather, is that, you know, he's hit rock bottom. He's like, and he hasn't seen his daughter in a few days.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where she is, but he's worried about her, but he doesn't necessarily think something's terrible happened to her. And he's like, and then the uncle comes and the daughter's wrapped in a cloak, and he's like, Titus, I have something to show you, but this is unbearable. And Titus is like, what do you mean? I've already experienced the unbearable. My son, I killed my one son, and my other two sons are condemned to death for a murder that I'm sure they didn't commit.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but here's your daughter that she's been raped, tongue's been cut out, and fucking Edward Twig's hands.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he starts laughing.
Yeah.
He's beyond rock bottom, and it just sets up everything. So like, if every Shakespeare character that did something crazy had shit like that, or if that imagery was like so clear to me like that, I would start to believe certain things more.
Yeah.
And anyway, so at this point, Anthony Hopkins can do anything, and I'll be on board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but at the end of this scene, like there's like a crossroads, which is Anthony finally coming to his crossroads. There's the four corners of a crossroads, and he's like, because it's Anthony, his remaining son, the daughter, and the uncle, and he's like, now we'll get revenge.
And here's the thing too: they're all at separate roads on this crossroads, and all clearly separated.
Yes.
By this grief, by this trauma of what's happened to them, which is also a really poignant point about grief and trauma, how it's isolating. Like, you know, Marcus has been trying to hold Lavinia, but like, there's no one who can help her.
No.
And there's no one who can help Titus, and there's no one who can help his remaining son, who's banished, by the way, because he tried to help save his brothers.
Yeah.
He tried to rescue his brothers from jail.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
yeah. That was kind of. He did say it, but like he like ran. He was like he was at the place that like beyond the scene where everybody was walking towards, and he ran back with his sword. He's like, "Why did you just run out?" He's like, "I tried to save my brothers. I failed, and now I'm banished." By the way.
I mean, I think it's an afterthought, but I think it's good that it's
Yeah,
an afterthought because
fair.
everything else is more important.
Fair, exactly, and he did say it.
Like
so
in that situation,
I just forgot.
No, you're good. In that situation, with everything going on, with all that trauma, with like I just killed my son, and like,
Yeah.
and my other two sons are about to be executed.
Yeah. No. Fair.
For the thing I spent my whole life building. Oh, you're banished. Go, get out of
Yeah.
here. Which is what he says. Like, go. That's merciful. Go. Like,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh man, I
Good
also
for
want
you.
to ping one more thing.
Yeah, please.
So like at there is a. This is pretty huge actually, but like it's fine that I mention it now. It's not like narratively. It's just like a thing he says at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a reverence, but like an envy of death at the beginning, and he's like, look at all these dead people. They don't scheme, they don't plot, they don't do any of that shit. They can just rest, and it's like peaceful. And he's like, kind of yearns for death a little bit. He's like, he envies the dead
Yeah.
because they can do that, and that he says that a few more times. He's like, and we'll get there too when a few other things happen. Hopefully I can remember to come back to it. But like, he's like, death is in this play to Titus, death is sometimes preferable specifically. So when certain people die, he's like, well, at least you don't have to deal with this shit anymore. And it's like it made me think about Hamlet. It made me think about like, I wonder if there's a better story there where it can paint that picture better for me.
Yeah.
Because when Hamlet says I want to die, it feels unearned.
If it's not set up well, it can feel
Feels kind of emo,
empty.
if that's the right word
Or
I'm looking
emo,
for.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it feels superficial. It feels like
It can feel very superficial.
selfish as opposed to
or whiny.
Yeah.
People say Hamlet's whiny a lot.
so anyway, because I'm experiencing now like this Shakespeare shared universe, like this Shakespeare MCU.
Yeah.
I can now reach across plays and like wonder now, maybe hopefully I will see the production where like that line I feel like is earned more.
Hey, Julie. it's Chloe. Yeah, I'm great, girl. How are you? I was just wondering if you were ever interested in doing Hamlet. I don't know. That sounds crazy, but I'll see you on set.
Yeah, I'd love to. Julie Taymor, everybody. She's here.
Yeah, Julie.
So, we have that like kind of pinnacle, this like defining scene of like Titus finally is like, that's my line.
Hey, this is Chloe. I hope you're enjoying part 1 of Titus. That's the end of part 1. So go grab a drink, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and then check out the next episode for part 2.
Victorious Titus, spare my firstborn son.
Religiously, they ask a sacrifice.
I'll find a day to massacre them all.
Thanks for listening to Shakeshero. You can check out our website and email us your suggestions at shakeshero.com, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the handle Shakeshero. We're on Spotify and Apple Music, so please review, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode.